It's July 4th, 2022. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 190 of Roqe. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Nice to be talking to you. Hope you're keeping well wherever you're tuning in from around the world. Hello to you from Toronto, Canada. Salam Dostan Aziz, Durud Bar Shoma. Hi there, Kian.
Hi, Jian.
The fabulous Kian.
The Jian.
Thank you. It's a big show.
It is.
It's a big show today.
It is a big show.
And it's also the summertime, and we've started our new one big show a week idea, which we will then meet out over the course of the week and on our different platforms. But we do one big show on Mondays.
I'm nodding, yes.
Yes,
we are.
All killer.
No filler.
No filler. That's right. All killer, no filler. A July to remember, an August to remember. It rhymes.
Best month of the
Doesn't
year.
rhyme. What's the best month of the year?
July. Clearly, best
right.
weather.
Your birthday is coming
The
up.
greatest human being ever was born.
There we go.
One big show week. Chamas Charonot. I want to explain because for those who are listening more recently to Roqe and don't know where Chamas Charonot comes from, it's my father who was born in Abadan and grew up in Khuzestan. By the way, hello, Captain Reza.
Hello, sir.
And Groovy Shaya. And he used to say this thing, which we still don't have any empirical evidence to suggest that he didn't make this up. But there are people who have come out of the woodwork across North America who've got in touch with us and said that actually they've heard this before. This was some kind of saying that suggests kind of like, oh wow, Chamas Charonot.
Chamas Charonot.
Rolls off the tongue.
Rolls off the tongue. But there is no evidence to back it up that it's an actual slang or saying currently being used.
It's difficult because my dad, I've been through this, I talked about this before, my dad was 40 years older than me, so he was going back to the 1940s, 1930s he was born, in Iran. So he's growing up in the 40s and 50s, and who knows what they were saying, running around in Khuzestan back in the... Chamas Charonot.
Who would have thought?
So one big show, all killer, no filler. Today, Helia Bandeh, a visionary traditional dancer and educator. She's kind of been on a mission, a global mission to bring classical Iranian dance to the world. The story is that she was a dancer, left Iran, she was in Europe, and she was studying Egyptian and Spanish dance, and somebody said to her, well, show us classical Iranian dance, and she realized she doesn't know what that is. And in a way, nobody does, and she had to go back and kind of rehabilitate that and discover the history and bring it to people, and she does workshops all over the world now and does performances. So Helia Bandeh, I suspect if you are familiar with the dance world and the Iranian dance world, you will know that name. She's going to be in the Roqe studio. We will vacate the Roqe studio. Awesome. Get the riffraff out of here, Kian. Sorry.
That's me.
That is you in your kola cap. And Helia Bandeh. Before that, though, also in the Roqe studio, Dr. Roza Moradi. This is an Iranian-Canadian doctor of natural medicine. She was a conventional doctor, or I guess is, like riding a bicycle. You'll always be. Is that... You know the doctor
I'm not
stuff.
a doctor.
You're familiar with the
doctor.
doctor
Enthusiast.
I don't get involved in the details.
And she discovered that conventional medicine was not for her, went to India, and has become a big advocate and educator around Ayurvedic medicine. Ayurveda. Which is a medicine and a lifestyle, a natural form of medicine that began centuries ago in...
India.
That's right. Hindustan khodemun.
Hindustan khodemun.
Yeah. So And Dr. Roza Moradi, I mean, she'll be in the studio in a few minutes. I know that she seems like a wonderful person, and she's got a big social media following, and she's very accessible. So I suspect she's not going to be like a policeman, in here. But I'm always worried about somebody's going to then discover our diet and realize that it's a disaster.
Shame you.
Savi Roham and Groovy Shai, you guys didn't come in early enough today because this morning Groovy Shai and Savi Roham bought some Nuno Paneer at the
oh, that's so nice.
And at the, what do you call it, Baghali? No.
Baghali.
At the Baghali.
Jian Baghali is fava beans.
At the Baghali. And so we had some Nuno Paneer, it was so good.
Sabzi too?
Gojo,
yeah.
Gerdu as well.
But I think Dr. Roza Moradi is going to be like,
come on, no, Nuno Paneer is healthy.
I don't know. I don't think what naturopathic doctor or what doctor have you heard say that Nuno Paneer is good for you?
But it's Paneer or Nuno Gojo.
Exactly.
Like most simple.
No, not good. Not good.
What?
I think it's
I
not
don't
good.
believe it.
Well, let's see what she says.
Well, I'm actually super curious now.
I think cheese is bad.
Cheese if you're lactose intolerant, I suppose.
Let me ask you
bad.
something. Do you like cheese?
I do. I like it.
Yeah, it's bad for you.
Just because I like it?
That's correct.
Simple
Because
as
you
that.
like it.
If you
that's it.
didn't like it, it wouldn't be bad
So
for you.
if I say I like broccoli, that's it.
Bad
for you.
Yeah, but I don't like it. That's the problem.
That's the thing. It's good for you.
Wow, what a logic.
What a logic.
What a logic.
So anyway, Dr. Roza Moradi coming up. Helia Bande, big show. All killer.
Yeah, no filler.
That's right. Hindustan Khodamun. Happy 4th of July. Happy
4th of
Independence
July.
Day to, we have a lot of folks listening to us in the United States, and this is their Independence Day, and 3 or 4 days ago was Happy Canada Day.
Canada Day. Happy Canada Day.
Up until a few years ago, it was Iran that one would think of as an unstable, divided place that's always on the verge of civil war or implosion at any given time, deeply polarized. I feel like Canada and the U.S. are not so far behind these days, Like on Canada Day, I feel like the far right and the far left were united in hating Canada. Like there was a big protest against, of course, Justin Trudeau and people saying, he's ruined Canada, et cetera. And then there was people on the left who don't even want to call it Canada Day anymore because of the disrespect towards the First Nations and Indigenous people. And then in the U.S. today, I mean, based on my social media, half the people are like, "Screw Independence Day. We're uncomfortable with being American." There was a mass shooting today on the July 4th. It's a really sad situation. And based on the recent Supreme Court decisions around abortion,
but that doesn't mean fuck America, I guess.
See, Keon, what happens? Keon's an American. You see what? She gets all defensive.
You're already polarized.
Like Canada and U.S. It gave us a safe haven from the turmoil back in the Middle East. So how could we be ungrateful?
Well, I mean, you're the one, you've spoken yourself about American intervention around the world and things like that as well,
How so? What do you mean?
Do you want me to repeat what I just said? There have been times where you have said, you said it with regards to the Ukraine, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. You said, well,
Listen,
America has done this. I mean,
there's no perfect country. Let's put it that way. There's some countries, they have more good to them than bad. I mean, it depends on your
And I'm
point of
sure
view.
there's a lot of Iranian Americans listening who are very proud of being American. But I'm telling you, I'm seeing a lot of people who are very disappointed right now. On the heels of the racial issues and then the Supreme Court decision around abortion and then environmental rolling back that stuff, and the country's so polarized. I mean,
and this investigation, January 6th investigation that keeps going on, it's just one thing after another. Very polarized.
But to say it's a terrible place.
چی شده؟ شاید شما که اومدی اینجا آزادی پیدا کنی. We're coming to you on roqemedia.com. It's there that you can link to all of our platforms. We're on an ongoing mission to build a new audio-visual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. We are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, CastBox. If you'd like to see some visuals with Roqe, switch over to YouTube. If you like your Roqe descriptions in Persian as well as English, you can find us on Telegram. All of those handles are at Roqe Media. And if you want to support this program, you can become a patron. Go to our website, roqemedia.com, and press the Support Us button. Once again, devoid of any of the polarization, happy Canada Day and happy 4th of July. And a big thank you to Hamid Reza Safipour for helping to make this episode of Roqe get to your ears and eyes. Hamid Safipour, Luxury Custom Homes. If you're in the Toronto area, frankly, if you're an Iranian Canadian, you may know the name Safipour. Hamid got his master's in civil engineering and got into the field of building and consulting on luxury homes over 3 decades ago. And in the last 20 years, Team Hamid and Nina have made the Safipour name one of the tops in the business, a name you can trust to buy your dreamland and buy your dream house. Safipour Luxury Homes have now teamed up with Remax, and they're moving into also doing exotic high-rises that are beyond things we've seen in Toronto before. If you are thinking to buy or sell or build your dream home, if you're anywhere near the Toronto area or interested in buying and acquiring here, get in touch with Safipour. Safipour, Poor.com. Simple as that. Or 416-876-4918 at gmail.com. Look at your screen right now. We put it up there. Safipour.com. Hamid Safipour, the big boss when it comes to luxury homes. You know what talented Anahita calls me?
No.
Rais.
Rais.
So now here's my question.
Rais.
And I'm certainly not asking you, Kian.
To call you Rais?
I need, no, you should call me Rais. No, my question was this. Am I Modir or Rais? What's the difference, Shaya?
Boss or manager?
Oh, Modir is manager?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Modir also sort of meant boss. No?
No. Modir is more of a manager. Yeah.
No. So I'm definitely Rais. Khamis Qaranat.
Did you know that the Bruce Lee's classic, The Big Boss? You know, have you seen that movie?
No.
You haven't seen it?
No,
classic
the
Bruce
big
Lee?
classic? What?
Yeah, what?
Oh, well, it's a Persian thing probably. Reis-e Bozorg. Reis-e Bozorg yadte? Shaya. Oh, never mind.
No one's ever heard of it.
No one has seen it.
Do we have to Google to find out if this is actually a thing?
Never mind.
Did Modern Talking sing on the soundtrack?
But you see, that was by the way, my girlfriend and I went to this bar like a few months ago downtown, and they were playing Modern Talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she was born in Iran, and
Only Iranians know that bit.
that's the thing, and she had no idea. She was like, "Oh my God, I have so many memories with this." I was like, "But nobody knows about this."
I think they're German.
They are German.
And
They're
no
German
German's
men.
ever heard of them. Not one German's ever heard of Modern
they weren't
Talking.
even big in Germany.
I don't think so.
But I have Albanian friends who love Modern Talking, Chinese friends.
I
So it's like a
know.
foreigner thing.
That's so
Christe
embarrassing.
Berge Khodemun.
Yeah, I know. But what was funny is that she wouldn't believe me. I was like, ask anybody in this bar. She asked the bartender. She asked a couple of people there. Nobody had any idea. And I was stunned too, because I thought just like her that everybody knows. But there we go.
All right.
Just like that Bruce Lee movie.
How's she doing? Is she Mizun?
She's Mizun. She's Mizun.
Good.
Yeah, all good.
She was under the weather for a while there.
Yeah.
I explained this on my Instagram. At the end of every show, I say Mizun Bashin.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever explained it on Roqe. I'll explain it right now. Do you guys know the story? Well, you might
I
have seen
read
my
it
Instagram.
on your caption. Yeah.
So my uncle Behrang, dear late uncle Behrang, he would I wouldn't see him that often, even though he and my uncle's family and my cousins moved to Canada as well, a little bit after our family did, but then they moved to Calgary. So we would see them, and we were in Toronto, so we would see them every few months or something. But when I would see him or get on the phone, he would say Mizuni, Mizun. Sounded kind of like you, Reza.
Mizuni.
And Mizun meaning, I think the literal translation is balanced. Kind of balanced,
Yes.
But I'm thinking Mizuni, to ask someone Mizuni is like, are you good Are you solid? Are you balanced? Are you feeling it?
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's
Are
a
you
great
balanced?
yeah, are you
I'm gonna
balanced
start
actually
asking
makes
that.
sense,
Yeah,
right?
More than are you good? Are you balanced?
Are you balanced? Yeah. So Mizun Bashin, as the tag of what I say at the end of each show, is stay solid, stay balanced. Mizuni, and Kian, your birthday is coming up. I have something funny to say, which is that this weekend I discovered. My birthday was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I had this gathering, and you guys brought presents and stuff. So I got this really amazing, like beautiful, fancy box of cologne, perfume, like soaps and all this stuff. And I'm looking at you, Keela. And I had gotten all this stuff. It was really nice. And I gotten a few presents in. And so Super P, who had been, when I had that party, he kind of put like sticky notes on everything. This is who this is from. So I would remember, And so then I'm going through the presents the next day, and there's this beautiful, this is a chic box. A chic of like his cologne. I don't know. I mean, there's a aftershave, and there's
men's
soaps.
care.
Men's. It's like a store. It's like an entire store of and it's a glossy.
Big of a box?
Oh, huge box, huge. No, it was actually very big. I mean, I'm telling you, this was an extraordinary gift.
A mammoth of a box.
An extraordinary gift. So the little tag on it, like is like Keon and Saman or something.
Oh, okay.
I see. Now hang on a second. Let me finish.
Keon.
What did you do? So I'm like, geez, this Keon, she kind of doesn't, I mean, we're friends, but she doesn't act that generous, in general. But when it comes to your birthday or an event like this, she goes all out. Nice. She gets you this fantastic, and I was just filled with love for Keon. I thought, this Keon, she's quiet about it. You know what I mean? Tarif nimikone. She doesn't come and say, look, here are all the things I'm doing for you. She just, it's your birthday. She gives you, open the bag, this gorgeous.
She likes to surprise you.
She must have dropped, I don't know, $500 on this thing.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
So what do I do? What does any thinking nice person do? I send a lovely message.
Can I?
Dear Keon,
good for you.
dear Keon, you went overboard. I should find the text. You went overboard. What a lovely gift. She responds.
What did you say?
Well, you're welcome, Gian.
No.
Oh, that's so lovely. Of course.
Fast forward to this weekend. I'll give you your moment. Fast forward to this weekend. And a dear friend of mine who I've known for a long time.
Wow.
She says, by the way, did you get my present?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
she bought you the same thing?
She goes, you don't even know, like, Yenny, you got all these presents. You don't even know what I got. And I was like, honestly, I feel terrible, but I don't. I must have been a bottle of alcohol, because I know I got a couple of whiskey bottles or whatever. She's like, no, it's don't worry about it. And I was like, no, what, And she said, well, it was this box with the cologne and the after. And I say, well, what's the name of this? Turns out this other friend of mine got me this.
Keon, and you were trying
Keon's been running around for 3 weeks as if
taking credit for
this.
Hold on.
Telling everybody in town she got me this thing.
May I have my moment now? Can I?
Keon, you can't do that. You can't take credit for someone else's gift.
I did not. Me and Salman, my lovely partner,
your lovely partner.
showed up.
Handsome
We met there at the party, and I knew he was bringing something.
And planned it together?
No. Anyway, so I brought something, he brought something. So when
let me finish too. Okay. Here's another part. I think you guys also brought, you brought me a bottle. I know that.
Yeah.
And so there was a few presents. I was like, this Keon,
wow.
Really what did I get from Roza and Shai? These guys are bringing a little gift or what. Keon, this is a classy person.
Yeah.
What does a classy person do?
She comes from a family.
On an occasion, she brings this box.
She's solid.
Anyway, we didn't coordinate before we were busy. So we get there, and we just walk in and, give our stuff to Patty. And then the next day you sent me this wonderful message, oh, thank you so much. I don't know what this product is, but it looks great, whatever. And I wasn't sure if someone gave you something. And I didn't want to act like I didn't. I was like, oh, what is it? So I just said, you're welcome.
Wow.
Like,
What do you want someone up to? Giving people weird gifts and you guys cover for
wasn't
each other?
sure,
You
and I
guys
didn't
don't talk to each other.
Because
Bizarre behavior.
Can you
Anyway,
imagine?
we
I
didn't
mean, this
quite-
whole letter. I don't know the brand, but this you went overboard. She says, "Oh, you're welcome."
I didn't know if it was his
the
gift.
meantime, she's got me like a $16 bottle of wine from the LCBO.
Oh, come on. I did not.
And then my friend's like, so when I discover this, I go, honestly, I thought
that's so
this was somebody else gave me that. I just goes, well, really? Like, and I said, she said, who? And I said, Keon, and she said, well, did you thank Keon? I said, yes. And then she said, well, and then Keon didn't tell you that's what I said, no, she said, you're welcome.
Because I thought it was. Oh my God! Now I look bad to everybody. Keon takes credit for gifts that she didn't give. I didn't know. I thought someone gave. Anyway, my intentions were good. I stand by my actions.
No, Keon, we love you. I mean, it was just a funny circumstance. But for 3 weeks, I've been
shame.
wandering around going, I was wrong about Keon.
And Keon was
She
proud of her.
is,
And Keon
she
was
is
one-
all class. And she didn't even make a big deal of it.
Of
She
course.
gave me this $1,000 bottle of cologne. Doesn't even mention it.
She was walking around thinking that, wow, I wonder what gift he got.
This thing is worth a car. I mean, just the price of a car would be the same as what this box
I
was.
genuinely thought it was salmon. I was like, oh, salmon probably. I don't know, some dude stuff. Anyway.
So funny.
I kid. You didn't. Nobody has to get me anything. Actually, it was really, really lovely that anybody brought.
He
me
remembers
gifts.
everything. Guys.
But it,
I know he had people tagging his gifts.
I was mortified that I didn't know. I was like, I am a horrible. I don't know what this friend of mine. It's a dear friend of mine. I don't know what they got me. I'm like, I honestly don't. I don't know.
And she's like, what made you think it was from Keon? Keon.
All right. Thank you, Groovy Shia, Captain Reza.
For nothing.
Fabulous Keon. How do I downgrade the fabulous Keon? I'm the Modir. I'm the Rais here. Listen, we kid. It's not a big deal. Let's get to our first guest, and then we'll come back on the other side of it and talk more. So my first guest today is... coming into the studio here, an Iranian-Canadian doctor of natural medicine and a growing popular presence in social media, Dr. Roza Moradi was born in Iran, grew up in Tehran until the age of 17 when her family moved west to help her interest in psychology and medicine. She got a degree in Toronto and then moved to the United States to pursue her long-held ambition of being a physician. She successfully finished the medical program, worked as a chief medical intern in one of the best hospitals in Chicago, and then she quit. Dr. Rosa came to the conclusion that traditional medicine was not for her. She took an interest in a more natural approach and made the life-changing decision to travel to the birthplace of alternative medicine, India. She attended an advanced course on clinical experiences in Ayurveda in Pune, where she learned all the therapeutic hands-on treatment methods along with the preparation of herbal formulas by attending D.Y. Patil University in Pune, along with the collaboration of the International Academy of Ayurveda. She's now back in Toronto and overseeing a growing career as a doctor of natural medicine and an Ayurveda specialist and instructor, and she's become a rising online favorite as someone who promotes simple and natural ways we can live healthier lives. And right now, Dr. Roza Moradi joins me in the Roqe studio. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
So nice to have you on the program.
Likewise, thank you
I'm
so much
not
for
giving up
inviting
kebab. I'm not giving up noon of hanir.
Don't.
I'm not giving up dough.
me. Don't. I get this
What
all
else
the time. I get this from every single Iranian.
Are you going to shame me if
No.
I tell you my diet?
I won't.
Oh.
That's the beauty of Ayurveda. We won't.
It's how do you feel when you hear your story back like that?
Oh wow, what a journey.
What an interesting
Yeah,
journey.
it is.
I mean, it's quite a journey from Iran to Canada and America, then to India, and then back west. And I want to get into your story and
Sure.
the eureka moments that led to your current path. Let me begin by asking about something you posted last month on Instagram. It's a poster that says, "We are not living on Earth. We are Earth."
That's right.
What does that mean to you?
That's the fundamental root of Ayurveda is one person will be at the ultimate health level in terms of mental, spiritual and physical whenever they are connected to their true source. And what is the true source? It's the nature. So what we usually, I always say this, we are so connected in terms of technology, but disconnected spiritually. And disconnected naturally as well. So whenever we try to conquer nature, we're taking some part of ourselves away as well. So Ayurveda actually helped me to go back and look at the source, the true self of us as a human being, which is nature. There's no difference between us and nature. So I am a part of nature, but I am also an earth and nature in me.
So interesting. You're right. I mean, when we talk about, I don't think it's ever occurred to me, when we talk about anything else, ants, lions, dogs, they're part of nature.
They are.
But we don't include ourselves.
No.
We exclude ourselves,
We
in
don't,
fact.
exactly.
We are interacting with nature as opposed to we are nature.
That's right.
What do we learn if we start to include ourselves as nature?
Oh my God, everything else will be just so much less complicated. So if I am waking up one day and I'm looking at the window and it's windy and I'm starting to complain and I'm going through a stressful day, work or even a school, what have you. And then I'm eating the food that will aggravate all that stress as well. So if I kind of, along the way, disconnect myself from that wind that I saw over the window and paid attention to what should I have eaten, to decrease that wind, the blow, which we call bloatedness during the day, and the stress, everything else would have been, just like a piece of puzzle, and we would have been so much more easier. I know it's complicated at first.
So we're more in touch with nature if we eat better.
Of course.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because the fundamental part of Ayurveda goes back to the 5 elements. But what we usually do is we see fire outside, but we don't realize that there's a fire in us. We see an air, but we don't realize that there's in us. And also earth. So when you see 5 elements in nature and connect that to yourself, that's the ultimate goal, health, actually, from Ayurveda.
Now, let me issue the disclaimer that I'm a fan of natural medicine and people who practice it. But
there's a but. Okay.
No, well, I want to speak for those listening out there, and to a certain extent for myself, that sometimes this stuff can get a little hippy-dippy.
Sure.
Right? We are Earth, man. As long as you know we're Earth, everything's going to be fine. It's like, well, that's not going to pay my rent.
No, that's
or,
true.
Help me get from one place to another, or fix my knee.
That's right.
In the immediate. So that's why I'm glad that you've had this creative kind of journey where you didn't just learn all of this at Burning Man.
That's right.
or at a folk festival, but you've in fact become a medical doctor, and you've seen the inside of that, and now you've taken this alternative approach. You posted something else too, which was a write-up about how we are not our job titles, which I really appreciated.
Thank you.
I thought this was interesting for you, though, because when it comes to being a doctor and an Iranian, we place a lot of status on doctors in the Iranian community. Everybody does around the world, but particularly the Iranians like the doctors,
Sadly.
right? How would you rather be defined?
Rosa. Whenever, I think the main problem is ego. So in Ayurveda, I actually tried my best to overcome that. There's a difference between I am and am I. That's the biggest fundamental philosophy of Ayurveda. So if you keep questioning yourself, if you keep learning, if you're just open to new knowledge and adventures, that will make you a better person, as you grow older. But what we think, and I'm speaking of Middle Easterns in general, we get the title, and that's not only Middle Easterns, by the way, though, is in United States as well. People put their plate number as doctors.
Sure.
So they kind of close the other doors to gain more knowledge about, how the doctors are perceiving right now, the natural medicine. They completely disagree, and they say, no, you take this. But what do you know about it? Did anyone teach you in the medical school about anything in natural medicine, or no? So saying no without knowing the concept, it was just very, very something weird for me. And I think we are way more than our job titles. Being an Iranian doctor, and also, DNM was another doctorate degree for me. So I gained both. I didn't just become an educator, a counselor, or I went all the way through 4 years of doctorate degree, and again.
But you're aware that, I mean, funny enough, recently we've had a couple of doctors, people who became medical doctors, who have become social media phenomenons, and in both cases, I think we've even talked about it, that their popularity has been facilitated by the fact that people have, and especially Iranians, I think, have a natural kind of tendency to go, oh, doctor, so she must know what she's talking about, and it gives you kind of an immediate credibility, even when you're talking about something that has nothing to do with anything you've studied, like these guys are talking about whatever, and it's like, well, it's a doctor, so they must know who's going to win the hockey game,
No, well, that's the sad part, yeah.
There's a time for I am rather than am I. I mean, you wouldn't want a young woman who's saying I am strong to reverse that and say, am I strong, would you?
No. What I'm talking about is the I am factor that will lead to an ego. So whenever I have a lot of students that I teach. So when they come to the office or when they're actually attending a Zoom, I always say, put your ego behind the door and then come to my class. Because for me, it doesn't make sense if you're going to a restaurant and you're making a reservation and you go, I want a table for Dr. Rosa Moradi. What is gonna the waitress or waiter or chef do if they find out that I'm a doctor? So that ego part is a very, very sensitive topic. So whenever you're repeating yourself, I know the best.
Don't you want the better table?
No.
You don't?
No, whatever.
Good for you. We can put you in the back next to the...
It doesn't matter. It doesn't... It really doesn't matter. But whenever you keep repeating that to yourself and you're creating that bubble of I know the best and you're closing yourself, I always call these people, one-dimensional.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of medical doctors are one-dimensional. They're not open to even read about natural medicine.
Don't you think that, I tend to blame everything on social media, so I have to be careful, but don't you think that has been reinforced by social media, where people go into they find their affirmation, they go into their echo chamber, and they'll just be surrounding themselves with whatever the affirmation of whatever they already believe. So if natural medicine is naturopathy or whatever is bad, I'm going to find the people who tell me that, and I'm going to look at it every day and be reinforced in my particularly non-nuanced thinking.
That's right. Social, I agree with that on you, actually, with you, on social media part, because it's the part that I think everything now is going out of hand. So we see the most prettiest part of people's life on social media, which I always talk about it on my mental Ayurveda courses. And we tend to follow someone's diets, follow someone's daily routine, and also, their title. So by being a naturopath, I don't think it's fair to say they're all bad at one. They're not. They're just information. However, with me or you going into social media and looking for that title, that is a tricky point, to be honest.
Right.
I want you to be able to not gain the knowledge yourself, to educate yourself first, and then go and see who is the right person to talk to.
But you're also on the show because you're a doctor, right? If you were just Rosa Moradi spouting off, maybe we'd have you on the show. You're great, but it helps that you've got that pedigree, right?
Of course. And let me be, sorry, I think I need to be a little bit clear on that. So there's nothing wrong with being a doctor and also gaining more information, of course, but I didn't stop. That was the thing with me. So I could have stopped by 2 courses and nobody would care about who I am, or just go Costa Rica or anywhere else and get a 2-month degree. But I didn't stop. I wanted to, as my dad always said, don't do something or do it to the end.
Don't do something or do it to the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds... there's also Anakit Tamam Kad. Exactly. Right. The person who does the job is the person who finished the job. We're going to define Ayurveda in a little bit, so in case somebody's listening and going, what is this thing that she keeps mentioning? But a couple of more general questions before I get to your story. Let me throw this at you. What's the greatest issue you believe we have in terms of losing our way and becoming a less healthy society?
Social media, it's one of the biggest. and also not knowing our own body's constitution, which we'll go back to it when I talk about Ayurveda. But we have so much more information out there than ever before. However, in the West, I think that we are under the impression that the more is the better. That is what is actually keeping us unhealthy.
That more is better.
Yeah, unfortunately, the less is more. And my whole ideology is that the less that you do, but do it effectively, you're going to see the most benefit out of it. But in the West, we think, ginger shots are there, turmeric latte, so I'm going to get it every day. So every single thing has been more and more in terms of quantity and quality.
But also, you said something a few moments ago that I thought was really profound, this idea that we are more technologically connected than we've ever been.
Yes.
But we feel less connected than we've ever been on some levels, right?
That's so true.
Or we are less connected to the earth or to each other.
Exactly. Spiritually disconnected.
Right. And I'm assuming you believe, I've talked to enough folks who believe in natural medicine and organic living. And so I'm assuming you believe that we are all being prescribed and taking too many pills as a panacea to our ills rather than a preventative approach of taking care of ourselves better, right?
That's right. And not necessarily pills, supplements and vitamins. And
vitamins are bad? Uh-oh.
They're not good for everybody. That's another issue that I see. So whoever can find me, they know where to find me. I'm either in the health food stores or just like eavesdropping, because I love to see how people are choosing their vitamins and supplements. So my aunts, took melatonin. Let me take melatonin. Or my cousin said that. I thought that was in Iran, but no, nowadays we see this more and more with supplements and vitamins here.
Right.
So whatever it is out there, I'm sure it's good, but not necessarily good for you.
I've taken two things since I was a kid. So since I was like a teenager, I took this Active Men's vitamin that's one of those multivitamin things, like religiously. In fact, like once my medical doctor, my family doctor, GP said, why are you taking those? And I was like shocked. Like, what do you mean? To stay healthy, right? And the other thing is I take this thing called Florasil.
Okay.
Now you will probably appreciate the Florasil. It's like, what is that? It's a vegetable silica. Yeah. And which I think when I was 19 or something, I read helps your hair because I didn't want to go bald. And so it's the natural supplement that, it makes your nails and your hair strong.
That's right.
And so now I'm afraid to go off the Florasil. So far it's worked. I'm not bald yet,
No.
So I take these things.
But who told you to take them?
I don't know. I mean, the multivitamin, I just seem like what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to accumulate them after, somebody says, oh, you need vitamin B. And then the other person says, you need vitamin C. And so then there's this little mound of things that I'm taking along with my Florasil to make sure I don't go bald.
I know. You won't go bald.
How do I know? Maybe the Florasil, the vegetable silica, has been helping all this time.
Well, let me tell you this. Maybe the mixture of the supplement that you're taking is actually helping it. Or maybe it's just your constitution is the type that it will not allow you to go bald. So a lot of people, of people are, they have a tendency to go bald, but not you.
And my nails are strong because of the vegetable silica.
Because of the vegetable. Jeez.
I don't know. I mean, it's worked, so I don't want to, cheshmish nibkham,
Sure.
But it is an interesting question of how we get into these ideas of what our health is, what we're supposed to do for our health, and then we can't kick it, right? I mean, the truth is I've been sick 100 times in the last 20 years, but no matter which vitamins I'm taking, so apparently they're not foolproof. Right?
Exactly. The only thing I usually tell my patients that by eliminating what the supplements are taking, they feel ultimately better, because half of those stuff they don't even know why are they taking. What does it do to their body? And maybe they have some side effects.
I'm not giving up the Florasil.
Don't.
Gentlemen, if you don't want to go bald out there, I have no idea if this works, but it's some naturopath once told me, take some vegetable silica. And so
cool.
Let's get into your story. It's an interesting. So you were a kid in Tehran.
Yes.
And the story is, from what I understand, you always wanted to be a doctor.
I always wanted to be.
This wasn't one of those Iranian parents pressuring you.
No.
Why did you always want to be a doctor?
I don't know why. I can tell you that my family, nobody in my family was a doctor, and I'm the only child. So every time that I wanted to, I don't know, like in the school, I was always good in biology, and I loved law as well. But it was just something about memorization and human body that fascinated me from the very early age, like high school. And when I talked to my parents, as a matter of fact, they did not push me at all. My dad said, just be good at it, go for it, whatever you choose. So that was the whole beginning of, doctor, okay. So, but then what do I have to do in order to get there? I didn't know that I have to do psychology or any science and all of that. But I just said, okay, maybe being an actress on the side. But
The actress as well, doctor and actress.
That never happened, but yeah.
And did you, were you interested in helping people as a kid? Would somebody who knew you when you were 10 go, of course, Rosa's got this popular Instagram channel now that she's helping people?
Yes, I mean, it's not good for me to say it, I think. It's better to ask those people. But I have that in me, as they say. Even in very age, like 7, 8, or 8. Or my grandpa, my dad's father, used to be involved in herbal medicine, and I didn't know. I was very, very young when he passed away. So now I remember in Iran, yeah. So I remember like people coming into northern part of Iran and going to him and be like, I have eczema, what can you make? And I remember him actually going around the farm and picking up. So maybe that's something that made me actually interested. It was in me all along, but I didn't know. So
your parents, you moved west when you're 17.
Yes.
And it's partly because your parents want to help your education?
Yes.
Which is sweet, right?
It is.
The sacrifices that Persian parents make.
Very.
Did you want to move west?
No.
You want to stay in Iran?
No, I wanted to stay.
You have friends and...
Oh, yeah. And I cried. I think the first year of moving here was the complete anxiety and depression. I knew I was going to get a good grade in concours. And at that age, all my classmates were getting into Tehran medical school, which was my dream to go to. So I always blamed them that, why did you actually bring me here? I would be better off there. Yeah.
And so, they win the argument. You move west. That's actually quite amazing that they did this for you, but you didn't actually want to do this.
No.
And so, what leads you to where you end up going to the States after you get your, was it a psychology and science degree at York here in Toronto?
Yes.
You go to the States, you're going to be a doctor.
Yes.
Right?
Done.
So medical school, and then there's this moment, if I have the story correctly, you're in Chicago and you've become a doctor.
Yes.
You're working in a hospital or something. So what happens?
Number one, two things happened. Number one, I was not happy when I was actually doing my clinical rotation. I was happy that I was helping people, and finally the white coat is on. So, but it was just something that at night when I would come home, I was not happy. Of course, that relates into U.S. healthcare as well, and insurance basis and all of that. But I was like, why, I'm giving this, we're giving this cholesterol medication to 35-year-old woman, and also the same dose of same medication to a 65-year-old man, and no one's questioning their diet, no one's questioning their lifestyle. So I started questioning a lot, and called my dad, of course, and he said, are you happy? And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, okay, so we'll finish this and we'll figure it out. I know you will figure it out at some point. And when it was done for me, and when the cap is just thrown and you see your Persian parents tear in the eye, and you're like, okay, I did it. So now I can decide what else to do from now on.
And so you leave the medical
US.
profession.
Yes.
How hard was that? I mean, I'll get to the cultural pressure part, but just as somebody who's worked for years to become to get this to this dream since you've been a kid, how hard was it to make that decision?
It was not the time that I was in US that I kind of quit. It was the time when I moved to Canada, and I was getting ready for the board exams, and I passed those exams, which are really hard. Those, they know whoever's trying, they know how hard they are. And then I was told that my marks may be getting, just matched to Nova Scotia area. So we were in a talk with a lot of hospitals, and then we had health issues in our family. That was the turning point for me. Going through a lot of health issues, my parents, and then of course ultimately myself. And I was like, okay, I need to find an alternative way. I always say you'd never know, any doctors would never know the psychology of a patient going through a sickness until they become that person. I always thought, medication, go by, phone calls, we'll see you in 6 months. But what the patient is taking, that devastation feeling, that frustration was unexplainable. So I remember myself, sleeping at Sunnybrook Hospital, waiting for appointment for my mom, waiting for my appointment for my dad. Please, I know this is something serious. So that only I know, like, okay, there's a lot going on into this profession. And no one's actually letting us know what to do next, to not let this go or prevent it from further occurring.
Can you talk about what the medical troubles were? You don't need to.
Yeah, very, very personal, but I can say that cancer basis. Yeah.
Yeah. And yourself as well?
I was almost got diagnosed as well. So it was just a lot of stress on me and on my parents as well. So I think the ultimate sickness of tiredness, I was losing weight, and of course it didn't get to the point of diagnosis, but I was just very, very exhausted and tired, because it happened right after the next, my dad first and then my mom.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you my dad actually died at Sunnybrook, so I know well the sleeping there and wondering what's happening with your parents. You must have, when you became a doctor, and you talked about throwing the cap in the air and the tears in the eyes of the parents. I mean, it must have been a point of pride for the extended family, etc.
Oh yeah.
How was the reaction when you said, "I'm giving up. I'm leaving this"?
The reaction of my parents, because they saw what I did was helping them. What they were like, okay, what is this? Number one, we have this weekly meetings with my parents still today, and we talk about various issues. So that was one of we need an immediate meeting. I decided that I do not want to go back to the residency. I have the medical degree background, so it's never going to go anywhere. It's with me. I learned anatomy, physiology, everything based on that. But I think what it helped us and our family to recover and get better, it can help other people. Of course, I remember my mom said, will they give you a doctorate degree in natural medicine? And I said, yeah, you can go all the way, but it's another 4 years.
Right.
And my dad goes, well, you just finished, 8 years, 9 years, another 4 years. I said, it's okay. I'm willing to take the risk.
So you have a weekly meeting with your parents?
We do.
This is not, I'm presuming, that's not the only time you see them.
No.
you have chai,
we do.
You hang out otherwise.
Yes, we do.
What is the weekly meeting about?
It's typically anything. It started when I was a child.
But you schedule the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's on
official,
the calendar.
Yeah, on the calendar, yes.
That's amazing. You ensure that there's going to be a communication.
Oh, of course.
Wow. The only time I've come close to that is actually because of the pandemic. We started doing we did Zoom meetings.
Zoom meetings. Yeah.
But so what, who chairs the meeting? I mean, how does it?
Me.
No. Wow, you really, now I know you're Iranian. The OCD.
The kid.
We have a scheduled meeting.
No. It started when I was a kid, and it all started with movies. I loved watching movies and going to theater when I was a kid. So we usually we'll watch a movie together, and then we'll talk about it. And I was very, very, very young, and I got used to a habit. I was, okay, that's nice. And then my mom said, let's just change that to a book. So we read the same book, and then we talk about it.
Oh.
So the whole idea...
Family's the best.
Thank you.
That's really cute. So you would read the book together, or separately?
Separately, yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll say in 2 weeks we'll be done, and then we'll have a meeting to talk about it. And that with movies and books, it remains the same, although I wish I would have had more time to read non-medical, not natural medicinal book, but that remains still. So we have our movie nights and all of that. But weekly meetings is just something.
Is there an agenda for the weekly meetings? Do you send out
No.
This week, here are the 5 points that we're going to be discussing?
Every Monday, I actually say, even that could be as easy as buying a new chair or like furniture for a house. Because it's our house and we all deciding. So we have to go together. We have to assemble it together. So.
Are there times when you call your mom and you just want to, hey, Mom, how's it going? And she says, can this wait for the weekly meeting?
No. Because I'm very talkative. They know that I can't wait. They can wait, but I can't wait at all.
So tell me about going to India. And first of all, the decision to do that. And then what it was like when you got there. I mean, was it
Sure.
Presumably it was everything you wanted
Of
because
course.
you've since followed that path.
Yeah.
I called it life-changing in the introduction. Was it life-changing?
It was life-changing, for sure.
Talk to me. Tell me.
So whoever is studying Ayurveda, they know that this is an ancient medicine rooted in India. So it's everybody's dream to go and learn the ancient medicine from the source. And as a part of my practical, just like how it is in medical school, you have to go and rotate in the hospitals and work. But there's no natural hospitals here in West. So there's only a few options, and India was the main one. So with the help of the school, I went, and I was the only one because it was a beginning of pandemic and no one wanted to travel. So I left, and as soon as I landed, it was just like, wow. Of course, I was dreaming about like Bollywood and all of that, but nothing like that. However, different environments, different energy, and the whole idea of people struggling a lot, but learned to thrive and survive with energy was just fascinating to me. Then, of course, the part that I had to work in 12 hours shift in hospitals and then 18 hours in the clinics, learning it from masters.
So it looks like a Western hospital, but it's natural medicine?
It is Ayurvedic hospitals, yeah.
And did you know about Ayurveda before you went there, or because there's different kinds of naturopathic medicine, right?
Yes.
And so did you intently want to study Ayurveda,
Yes.
or did you discover it in India?
No, I did it here because I had to do some part of my school here in Canada.
Okay.
So it was Canadian-Indian associated school that I attended to. So my first 2.5 years I studied here, and they gave me some credit, of course, because I've done MD. So it was less than actual 4 years. I know what you're gonna say.
I guess the title meant something then.
No, well, they thought it would be repetitive for me to study anatomy and physiology.
You weren't just Rosa during that meeting. Actually, I'm a doctor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you went, when I go, of course, you see the different part in every single aspect. The way they eat, the way they. Diwali is the way it actually stayed a little bit longer than my whole process. I just wanted to know and travel from south of India to north of India, to know the culture, to know what is the cause of this joy, why, all sort of different religion and different background. What is it that keeps them so close to one another? So
can you give us a brief description or definition of Ayurveda?
Of course, it contains of 2 words, so Ayur and Veda. Ayur meaning life, and Veda meaning knowledge or wisdom. So it's the wisdom of life.
And what does it actually mean in terms of practically applying it? Yeah.
Sure. So I'll tell you the difference between a traditional medicine. We mainly focus on a physical body. Ayurveda says, well, now more in terms of mental as well, especially in the recent years, we focus more on mental health. But in Ayurveda, it's a 3-dimensional. We say healthy body, healthy mind, and healthy soul or spirit. This aspect, the last one, it's been taken away from a traditional medicine. So whenever you have an ultimate health in all those aspects, then you can only say, I'm a healthy person. And when you find out that wisdom that is in you, in every single cell, that knowledge, then you can incorporate all these 3 together and say, I found out the wisdom of the life because I'm connected to my roots, I'm connected to my consciousness. Yeah.
Now, let me say at this point that having done a little bit of research on Ayurveda, because I was very curious, since you're a practitioner, looks amazing. Looks like the journey of it, the history of it. This isn't something that somebody discovered last year. This goes back, throughout history. But also there's some, I just feel like we should just throw out the disclaimer there. You're certainly not suggesting that Ayurveda is the cure for everything, cancer, etc., because there's some controversy around that. There's medical organizations that want to explain that this don't believe that Ayurveda is the answer to everything. And what about the idea that there was some leads or some issues with that can be problematic issues with the medicinal Ayurveda? Can you speak to that?
In terms of medicinal Ayurveda, what's the problem? Well,
wasn't it banned a few years ago?
It was. It was mainly in terms of regulation. It was a lot of, because once again, so people would go take many courses, and will advise people on taking teas, herbal teas, infusion, etc. And people will get, of course, they didn't know where to get the actual good source from. So whenever you're getting the source of any herbs from, and of course, unfortunately, not well-known source, then you can actually get impurities in all those medicine as well. So in terms of regulation, there was a lot of discussion, but then WHO recognized it, and FDA also. I constantly am in talk with US and India and Europe, and now finally they got into a conclusion that no, it does work.
It's not banned anywhere now.
No,
that was a
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me about how this trip to India. How long were you there?
3.5 months.
3.5 months. Yeah. How did it change you?
I think I always like to travel alone. So again, I went alone, and I like to eat like local. I like to just hang out. The first thing was just like I didn't know how to bike. Just ride up, but then jumping in the back of the motorcycle to get there. These things. I think it just made me realize and appreciate how one country with all that differences can, as I mentioned before, can just be so connected. It completely changed my appreciation towards India. I always call it the best country in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why did you not stay there?
I wanted to, but then again, my job and my goal was to now gain the knowledge and now spread it into West. So Toronto was the place that I could come, and I saw potential of explaining and educating people about what I learned.
That's a good segue, because I was going to ask what your mission is as a doctor of natural medicine today.
Yes, exactly. So education. My students will all know I love teaching, and even though I'm practicing in the clinic at nighttime, I come home and Zoom meetings and teaching in classes, webinars. I'd love more people to know about this more and more, not only Canada and Toronto, but all over the world.
So who are the people who seek you out now? You clearly have I've talked about this online presence where you're popular, and who's coming to you? What kind of problems do they come to you with?
I'm the last resource that people usually come to me. So they come with files of natural medicine, naturopathic, homeopathy, specialists and family doctors, and they're like, okay, we did all of that, but nothing is changing, or we need some more. I don't do any advertisement. I haven't yet, because I was like, okay, the flow is amazing, and word of mouth was the most important actually advertisement for me. So people will come. There are two types. One is prevention. So they come to me and they're like, I'm healthy, I'm going to gym, I have a healthy diet, but is there anything else I should know or do? And we'll just create a path for them in terms of lifestyle and diet. The second types of people are the people who are already diagnosed, and they just come to me. They're like alternative ways or anything to reduce the side effects of medications that we're taking, because we can never tell them to stop their medication, but we can actually alternate the side effect with the help of herbal medicine to make them less effective to side effects.
That's part of the difference between you and a medical doctor, I guess. The medical doctor you go to when there's a problem,
Yes.
But a natural medicine person you want to go to even when you're doing well.
That's right.
To try and prevent the problem.
That's right.
I don't want to take anything away from medical doctors who
No.
would presumably say eat
No.
well, get sleep, whatever
Of
as well.
course,
But
yes.
so what is your? I was joking earlier about. First of all, what is this on the desk? I mean, you probably got some potion in there. Is that Ayurveda?
Tea, it is.
Okay, will I
It
hallucinate
is.
if I have some of it?
No, you won't.
okay.
It's just my natural routine tea that I have.
So you carry that everywhere.
Everywhere.
You're really this. What's this? Tell me about why you're such a big believer in tea. I mean, that comes naturally to Persians, the
Of
tea,
course.
and Indians
And
for that.
Indians, yeah.
But what? There are different kinds of teas. What are the benefits of tea?
So it depends on what kind of tea we're talking about. So are we talking about herbal teas or damnushes? Is it just for fun to have in the evening, a little bit of rose petal and water and just to calm ourselves down? Or are we talking about infusions, decoctions? Or what I have here is kashayam, which means, which means that we soak the herbs overnight.
Okay. Which herbs have you soaked?
This one is for my immunity. So
Okay.
it's a lot of tulsi or holy basil in it, along with sage and other powder mixture of spices that I love, according to my own constitution. So we soak them overnight.
It's a orma sabzi of tea.
No,
you have all these herbs.
I know every day, all day. And then in the morning, when I'm cooking it, I have to cook it and reduce it to a quarter of the cup. So for example, let's say that I have 100 milligram of the herb, I put 800 ml of water, and then I reduce it to a quarter. So that's 200 ml.
Okay.
And that will be the most infused, that's the most valuable water that I want to drink in terms of nutrition, soaked out of all those herbs. So it's a difference, between you putting in a lot of herbs and just pouring some water, or actually cooking them and reducing them.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Oh, well, that's not helpful.
It is.
I mean, I thought I was just going to put the Earl Grey tea bag in and.
Oh my God, no. No.
So what is that tea bad?
No,
is
it's
my
not.
tea bad?
It's not. It's
or
not.
like the
No.
Persian tea that.
No, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right? So you should know what is your constitution, why you're drinking the tea, infusion, decoction, and then do it cautiously. So I've been having this tea since the COVID started, so that's my immune tea. I see a lot of patients a day, and I need to keep myself healthy, and I need some boost of immunity.
Dr. Moradi, do people come to you for, is it like a general practitioner where one person will walk in and say, I've got knee trouble, and somebody else will say, I'm not sleeping, and somebody else will say, I'm depressed.
Exactly.
And let's take those three examples. If I come to you with a knee issue, how is your approach different from what you would have done back in Chicago as a medical doctor?
Sure. Let's take an example of a knee. So rather than giving you pain relief, like, I'm not going to name it, all those medication that will relieve the pain. The men's multivitamin? Fluorosil?
And
a Fluorosil? No, that would be like taking 5 minutes, right? Well, nowadays we see more actually doctors are recommending, osteopath, chiropractor, physiotherapist. Yes. But when they come to me, regardless of their problem, I need to find out what is their constitution that they were been born with. That is 1.5 hours of consultation that I do for any patients.
What does it mean? What is their constitution?
That's a very good question. So remember the 5 elements that we talked at the beginning? Every one of us have all those 5 elements in us. And those 5 elements divided into 3 parts, which we call them constitution or doshas. So I need to know what we were born with to begin with, and why this knee pain is happening to you. So the treatment that I may give it to you is different than somebody else, depending on what their true constitution
So
is.
how do you learn my constitution? What are the tests?
Tongue diagnosis. So we look at the tongue, pulse reading. We do have a specific techniques for pulse reading, and then questioning. So that 1.5 hours is just all questions about your childhood, about your puberty, about hair fall, about
You learn about my knee from my puberty?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
okay.
of course. Everything we need to know why this is happening. So once I have that written down, then I can say, okay, so this knee problem is happening because this was in your past, or this element is more prominent in you. Then only I can actually look into the knee problem and solve it. So a few ways, either herbal medicine. Basically, the first approach is diet. Believe it or not, I don't usually give any
Even for knee trouble.
yeah, just change that diet. I ask them the deepest point, coffees, raw food, crackers, dry food. So if it's inflammation, are you having a lot of hot, spicy foods? If it's dryness, are you having a lot of crackers and chips and
What
all
if
of
it's
them?
a muscle issue?
Okay, that's the tension.
Okay.
So I need to exactly find out why is it happening to them, or at what time is happening the most. A lot of people say when I'm at work, it's happening for some reason. No, it's not for some
I
reason.
still feel like this is leading towards taking away my Nuno Paneer.
No, Paneer,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. I feel like it's your knee will feel
Sorry.
better if you...
No, we have food for soul in Ayurveda, so you can have that.
And what about somebody who says, I'm not sleeping well?
So the same process will go on. We take the constitution, and then I know immediately that they have some stressor in their life, of course, immediately. But again, it's my job to find out what is the true constitution they were born with. Once I find that out, I say, okay, it can be something simple of taking the herbal tea late at night and just going to washroom. It's very, very simple idea and principle, to be honest with you. And then, of course, with sleeping, we have a lot of beautiful herbs that they can just help. I make my own herbs. I dispense them myself, make capsules myself, make decoctions, everything I do. So those can help. And also, we have external therapies. So, for example, with the knee example you gave it to me, we have a lot of massages that we can do with herbal oil that I make at home. With the sleeping as well, pouring hot oil on the head massage, which called the Shirodara. It's another one that will actually take away all the stress. So we do a lot of combination of external and internal treatment.
And something like depression or anxiety?
Yeah.
How same thing?
Same process. We do now see a lot of people with like counseling, because I think my psychology background, I'm very interested in that. So I see it's very interesting to me that couples will come to you and say, I want to know my constitution. I want to know my partner's constitution. What can we do to make our life better? That as simple as this. So you just work on the diet and nothing else.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned diet again, because I want to ask you about food again. And I've heard you say that Salad Shirazi is not even good for us. What's wrong with Salad Shirazi?
So what is in Salad Shirazi?
As far as I know, cucumber, tomato, onion with some vinegar or something.
Exactly. So there are a lot of
that's all good, isn't it?
They're all good, but not together. I know.
Isn't
This
that
is
called
all
salad?
I know. Ayurvedic perspective of salad is very, very different.
Oh.
So we believe that everything needs to be cooked in order to get an ultimate digestion. So everything that you put in your mouth needs to be cooked.
Oh.
So yeah.
Everything needs to be cooked?
Yeah. So fruits preferably, or very ripe. Vegetable needs to be cooked, grilled, or boiled. And so salads, that's another issue that I have nowadays.
Wow.
They think they have a lot of salads and they're in diet. And then they come to me with digestion problems or like bloatedness. Of course you're going to get bloatedness because your digestive fire is not working well.
So they should cook the salad.
Not cook the salad. I did not say that. Cook the vegetables instead. Like, for example, broccoli, cauliflower.
And eating an apple is not a good idea?
It is, but if you have
You
a
have to
low
cook the-
metabolism and you've been constipated for, let's say, 2 days, eating an apple will not help you. But cooking an apple is actually komput. So throw some cinnamon in it, make it delicious, and have it. And you'll see how your metabolism works.
Can I eat any fast food?
No. I'm sorry. No, I'm trying to be honest.
No, like
But what
no
is fast
pizza.
food? No.
But you're so sure. This is why I can't come to you.
But let's say,
If I come because
Okay.
I don't. That's not reasonable.
okay, so twice a week, when you have cheat days, enjoy your pizza out.
Okay.
But here's the thing: you have your pizza, the next day you're going to take care of your digestive system. If you can promise that to yourself before to anyone, I'm fine with it. So I'll do it. I'll eat outside. I hang out. That otherwise my
sounds
life
horrible.
will be,
It sounds like we have to go
so
get
boring, right?
That's what I
No,
wonder.
I know, it's not.
Going
It's
out with you
not.
would be like, you need a cooked apple and a
No.
zucchini.
No, number one, when I'm vacation, there's no rule. So I
Okay.
eat as much as local food
Vacation.
as possible. Yes, that's
Right,
vacation.
right.
I come back and I do 2 weeks detox. That's another
Right,
story.
right.
But in here, people who hang out with me, they know I choose my foods wisely.
Right.
So you can go. There's a lot of restaurant, and Ayurveda doesn't mean vegetarian. Please, just be aware. That doesn't mean you're vegan. Those are all labels. I'm an Iranian. I grew up with meat.
You can
so
eat meat.
I can.
Yeah.
Yes, it all depends on how much.
So let's say we go to a Persian restaurant. We already kind of know what the menu is.
Yes.
What do you order?
I won't order rice.
Okay.
I
See,
won't-
already kind of high
I
maintenance.
know.
Go
yeah,
ahead.
Yeah. Is it my cheat day or no regular day?
Regular day.
Okay.
How often is the cheat day?
Every 2 weeks.
No, regular
Okay.
day. Regular day.
Every regular. I'll have some warmer sabzi by itself as a stew.
Okay.
That's it.
Just some warm sabzi.
Yeah.
No
rice.
bread or rice.
No bread or rice.
Or dessert.
No dessert. Well, now I'm thinking about all the delicious. No dessert.
All right.
I have
Well,
a
that's-
sweet mouth, like tooth, so I cut down sugar 7 years of my life.
So that's pretty limited.
It
like
is.
you wouldn't even get juja kebab or something.
Oh, I would.
You
I
would?
would.
Okay.
But without rice. Like,
Without rice.
Yeah.
What's wrong
juja
with
kebab-
rice?
It's a lot of carbs, number one, and it's so hard on digest. And again, the way it cooks. So I when I cook rice at home, it's completely different than when I eat it outside. So I add a lot of spices to it. I add a lot of good oil that I make at home. So I make the digestion really, really easy. But outside, I don't know what they use. So, but again, if it's a occasion, birthday, whatever, it's okay. I'll have it. I'll have some. Don't laugh at me, but I'll tell you this. Whenever invited,
this is why it's hard.
No,
because
but
we started with
Okay.
no penny, or like you said, no, you can have what you want. But really, if I was really going to try and be healthy,
Yes.
I have to not have rice and bread, right?
not every day. You can have your rice and bread, but again, what kind of bread?
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go. So what kind of
It's a
bread? How much of
disaster.
a bread that you? My dad is Somali, right? From North. So
Ah.
imagine if I can get him out of rice, I can get anyone out of rice because he used to have rice for breakfast.
yes,
Yes,
that's
I
my
know.
man.
I know. But now it's like, okay, you can have rice. You can have rice pudding for morning, and he loves it.
Okay.
It took 7 years.
What kind of bread are we allowed to eat?
It all depends again. Your constitution. I don't want to.
constitution,
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah.
Wouldn't wanna say.
Would want. Yeah. Yeah. 'cause
So
then everyone.
bad
will
Batty
go
might be
bad
okay in
Batty.
my constitution.
Once a week, it's okay.
I don't think it's going to be okay.
No?
no,
No, it
I'm
is.
pretty sure you're going to bad Batty's not
No,
going to be okay.
no. I would say Saturday. My mom would kill me if I say it's not. So Saturday.
And
Sunday.
how do we feel about dairy?
Be honest, I'm
Not
not a
good.
big fan of. No,
No.
I'm not a big fan of.
No medical person says dairy is good.
No, because again, the quality of the cows or the dairies that we get here is uncomparable to what I haven't had dairies for 17 years, except when I went to India, and they actually have it right there in the farm, and I was like, no, I'm gonna get bloated, and they're like, no, you're not, and I have it, and no problem whatsoever.
Oh, egg? Can I have an egg?
You can have an
eggs
egg.
are okay.
Yes, that's fine.
They're not dairy.
Not too much. Too much of a good thing again is a bad thing. So
once a week. I'm going to be eating everything
Eggs
on
is
once a
okay.
week. The rest of the week is a
No, so here's options are the keys in Ayurveda. So if you're having eggs on Monday, you're gonna have rice pudding on Tuesday, and vice versa, and switch it up. So I give a recipe for each constitution.
Wow.
I know. I sometimes have to type up until like 2 a.m. But whatever the person's coming to me, what is the balance stage? What is the
Me too, Sammy,
imbalance?
I can't.
Oh, why?
I'm
No.
a bit scared. Because it's like we talked the other week on the show about not wanting to go to the ear doctor because we'll find out how much hearing loss we have.
Oh.
I don't want to be told that.
But that's like facing the reality,
I
I
know,
think, for
I know.
yourself. No,
But who
I
wants
don't think
that?
it's as scary. If you can at least try it. Without trying, you would never know.
Yes.
And it's not hard, trust me. Once you know, your body won't accept it. I have people telling me, I can't
Yeah, I know,
give up
I know.
caffeine. I
That's
can't
true.
give up caffeine. But now that they're like, I'm never going to go back
Yeah,
to it.
I know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What has most surprised you about the reaction you've gotten since you took this path, came back to Canada with your with this as your path?
A lot of people are encouraging. I've rarely come across. Actually, it occurs to me from my colleagues. Usually, medical doctors are the one that they say, "Whoa, why?" But
Why do you think that is? Do you think that's because they see it as a threat to their
I don't like to think
dominance?
that way. I don't like to think that way. I just think that, again, it goes back to being one-dimensional. I went to medical school. I know there's no course of natural medicine and or supplement. So I always say, like, be open more about it. I think, and it's also easy financially. With being a doctor, internal medicinal doctor or family doctor, your stability is way more than being someone like me. 1 week I may have 2 patients, and another week I may have like fully booked 10 patients. So that as well, they're like, oh, why did you make this decision? Why? From a stability. But I always like challenge. So that is.
Are you expensive?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Like, is taking this kind of path for if somebody's interested in being a patient, should they be intimidated by the costs?
I don't think so. Taking into consideration of all those money that we actually buy supplements and a meal at night in downtown Toronto is way more expensive than my visit. So, and this is an investment for yourself. It's not something that will, just you have it's done. Or I always tell my colleagues or my friends that it's not drinks, it's not it passed through you. You stick with it through whole life. So it's an investment.
Tell me about the social media that you do, your Instagram in particular. It's pretty dedicated to the mission. There's not a lot of pictures of you playing volleyball or something, or or a cat or so. Tell me about how it feels to have been getting the kind of support you get or interest online.
Well, I decided to separate my personal account from my professional account. I didn't want it to be about me in particular, but it just grew. I have no idea how. I think speaking 3 languages also helps. So I have to do...
What's the third language?
Turkish.
Oh,
yes.
All right.
So then ultimately, I saw people with hashtagging and people connect, through my page, through me, and then they contacted, do you want to do webinars? Do you want to talk in Turkish? So it all growing so
Sorry, why
fast.
do you speak Turkish? One of your
I
parents?
don't know.
You don't know why you speak Turkish?
It occurred to me from my mom. My mom is Azeri, from Azerbaijan, but I learned myself the Turkish, from Istanbul, Turkish.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you mean? How did you do that?
So I went on visits once in Turkey, and then back then, we all have a little bit of movies and all the TV shows.
Well, you need them for the weekly meeting with the parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. But then when I went there, I couldn't communicate with anyone because they don't know that much of in English, in com. And I said, okay, I'm gonna.
And they don't love you talking Persian either.
They don't, sadly. Yeah. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go back to Canada, turn everything into Turkish, and come back here in 2 years and talk to you just like how you do to your people. So I switched up everything to Turkish, from movies, news. I read. I'm writing in Turkish. I started translating books in Turkish.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
What books are you translating in Turkish?
Medical books, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, you're a Wonder Woman.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Well, that's great. Good for you.
Thank you.
So the Iranians, the people who understand English, and Turks are following you.
Yes. Yeah. So now I have to translate every post into 3 language, which is very time consuming, but I absolutely love it.
Where do you think you want to take all of this? I mean, it's first of all, do you feel like now you've found your forever path, or
There's no limit to learning. I always say, as Rumi said, you think, you're a drop in the ocean, but you are an ocean in a drop. So there's too much to learn. If I have an opportunity, I would love to go back and do specialties in Ayurveda, surgery part, gynecology part, and natural medicine, because Ayurveda in India divides into different branches, just like medicine here. So then you can specialize in the field that you like. But I am I've never been this happy for entire, like, as long as I remember.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
How does the Iranian community, your Iranian fans or friends, or how do they tend to react to natural medicine?
I'm going to categorize them into two parts. One Iranians from Iran and one from here.
Okay.
Yes. So from Iran.
I thought it was going to be generational.
Generational?
I thought the older school.
They all know. Yeah. So when I talk about them, the older generation, they're like, we know this. You know, we learned from our grandparents and all that. But Iranians from Iran have different perspectives. I don't blame them. There's a lot of material in terms of herbs and all of that. There's not enough guidance. So that will make them, unfortunately, like the people make fun of, certain herbs or oils, or this is just a remedy. No, because there's no one to tell them. And I didn't know that this is not regulated in Iran. It's not. So I tried my best. I wanted to teach at the university, and it's not, because it has a lot of contraindication with Islamic natural medicine way. So unfortunately, it's not allowed. The herbs we can't send, they can't grow. But what I did, I had a lot of patients.
It's so weird because I think of Iran as an herbal kind of place. Yeah,
Ibn Sina was my hero that I actually, reading his book actually enlightened me. But what I try to do with my patients from Iran is I find an equivalent herb, from an Ayurvedic herb, and then I read books and see this is the herb that you can find in Iran that does exactly the same thing. So then they go in, but again, unfortunately, attars are the only sources, right? So then they find it. It's so hard for them. I feel bad, but I think they don't have any guidance.
And then Iranians outside of Iran?
First, it's getting better, I should say.
Oh.
It's getting better.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were skeptical?
Very.
Yeah.
Very. 90% of my patients are not Iranians. So they're like, oh, okay.
What do the Iranians say? Yeah.
Kebabs, noon paneer,
complaint.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, in general, natural medicine, is it like,
no, they don't do that with me. Okay. They don't.
They respect you.
They do. I have to be fair. They're very kind. However, they feel it's temporary. So, for example, when I tell them that needs follow-up, this needs, seasonal change. When the season's changing, you need different regime, and they're like, "Oh, come on, like." I'm feeling better. I don't need to
Isn't there a surgery for this I can pay for?
A magical pill. No, it's not, unfortunately. So with non-Iranians, I see a more follow-up based approach. Okay, it's been 3 months. I'm feeling good, but I want to know what else to do. Iranians, they come, just only one-time consultation. They find out what the constitution is, and that's it. Done. Unfortunately. But it's getting better.
Are your parents still around?
Yes.
And how are they proud of you now?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Do you prescribe things at the weekly meetings?
Oh my gosh, every day. They're my clinical study searchers. So.
Wow. Well, they're no longer at Sunnybrook. That's a good sign.
That's a great sign, yes.
It's a great pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure is
Thanks
mine.
for coming.
Thanks
for sharing your story and your wisdom.
You.
And I'm sure people will check you out. Dr. Roza Moradi, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Dr. Roza Moradi, an Iranian-Canadian doctor of natural medicine and a growing popular presence in social media. She's a practitioner and teacher of Ayurvedic medicine. You can find her Instagram channel at Rose Naturomed, ROSENATURO Med. Dr. Roza Moradi joined me in the Roqe studio today. Dr. Roza Moradi has left the studio. The microphones are back on with Groovy Shaya, Captain Reza, and the fabulous Keon has walked back in the studio. Now, how do you feel about the Nuno Panir from this morning, Shaya?
دیگه چی بخوریم؟
What are we supposed to eat? First of all, I would say, I always. That was an invigorating conversation. I feel like I'm processing it. I always appreciate someone who has the courage to reshape their life journey, you know? She puts all that work into becoming a doctor, becomes the doctor. She's there in Chicago and then comes back to Toronto and ends up going to India. I just think it takes a lot of courage to do that. And we know so many people who stay unhappy and stay in the stream that they thought they were supposed to be in.
Agreed.
So...
Yeah,
would you have the courage to reshape your life journey?
If I had someone financially backing me, absolutely.
I don't know if she did.
That's what I'm saying.
Like when you say the courage, that means no financially.
Yeah.
Courage is the financial.
But see, there is a difference, because I've seen a lot of people completely shift into doing something else, but they have support. So to do that independently, it's hard. I mean, it looks like she probably did it independent. That takes a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah, I think you've actually faced this issue.
I'm still
You're
facing
still
this
facing
issue.
it. Yeah, it's a tough one.
But
Yeah,
she
it
says she I don't think she's alone in it, because she has weekly meetings with her parents. Like
For sure.
That's great.
She has blessing of her
Yeah.
parents.
It's like free therapy.
But I don't think
relationship is a big thing in terms of guiding her to how to make her decisions.
I guess so. But I don't think that. I mean, we all have the good fortune of having parents,
That's right.
or at least one parent. You know, so I think. You know, she definitely traded in the material.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear it. She doesn't care. But, you know, when I said, you don't want the nice table in the restaurant? And she says, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's not what her life is about.
Yeah.
But I first of all, I thought that was great courage. Second of all, I mean, does Ayurveda intrigue you?
I don't know. There is a part of it that I do like. There's a holistic aspect to it that I definitely appreciate, and I'm all for using natural remedies and trying to avoid anything that has anything to do with chemical and big pharma and stuff. But at the same time, I draw the line at cooking apples. Like, I don't know if like cooking certain, like, I understand vegetables and stuff, but like cucumber and like that kind of it's I don't know, and there are certain things that I don't know if I have my doubts, but overall I'd say I'm 70% for
well, it's kind of, I mean, it's sort of a general question about these, I mean, ancient forms of healing, whether you're you know, in a way it's kind of like in human history there's been this stuff that's lasted through civilizations, and then there's the last 30 years of new pills that have been developed that we're swallowing, right?
I mean, I was going to say that about Nunan Panir. That's lasted generations for how long? But apparently that's not good for you.
Yeah. It's like when there's a study that comes out about coffee every couple months, whether it's good or bad for you. It's like, well, coffee's been around for
I feel like
right?
it's been around for millennials. Then it's
it's safe.
Let it be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it definitely intrigues me. She makes I mean, she's a great ambassador for it, Dr. Rosa, because she seems to, you know, she seems like a very on top of it kind of person who you aspire to be. Yeah, practices what you preach. She's got a great relationship with her parents. She's, you know, seems like a really good moral, ethical person. So you kind of think, geez, maybe I should take up this. And the other thing, let me just say that we were talking about this earlier about how and a couple of weeks ago or last week about Khariji and Iranians, and we've talked about race issues with Iranians. You know, there tends to be absolutely, I don't want to make this a general statement in terms of the fact that I'm not speaking for everybody. There's a strand of Persians, and we all know this, who can be quite racist or can really stereotype India and Indians, you know? And I just want to point out that on this program, we've had a few guests now who either live in India or who went to India. And the one common thing about all of them is they go, it changed my life for the better. Yes. It's an amazing place. Yeah. Yes. It's the best place in the world. Yes. So, you know, I mean, that it's like if we've had 10 guests who've, you know, been living in India or who've made that journey, it's 10 out of 10, you know, so there's something in that too. Like,
Yeah.
the interview just makes me want to get on a plane to.
Have you been?
Have you never been?
I've been to Mumbai briefly, and actually this summer I'm hoping to. I'll be
Really?
popping
Oh, wow.
to New Delhi. Yeah.
No way.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm going to the Asia and Istanbul,
Yes.
we're doing some Roqe stuff. I actually made a point to have it stop in Delhi and to
To explore.
drink it in for a couple of
And-
days. Yeah,
and-
I don't know if that's going to be enough. A couple of days in New Delhi to really get the idea, but yeah. Although I will say, and again, I mean, I feel like I'm airing our cultural dirty laundry here, but if we're going to be honest about it, if we're going to be Roqe, I've mentioned this to a couple of Iranians who've sort of gone, New Delhi. New Delhi was it? What are you going to India for?
Stinks.
You know.
That's what they say.
Well, I don't know what they say, but it just doesn't seem like a destination that.
Yeah.
Why would you go to
Yeah.
India? You know,
Yeah.
whereas
So many-
that sort of exotic idea of go there, ancient civilization, what is lost on Iranians, like, get the hell out of this continent, to go to Europe, go to the North America or whatever.
Go to Italy, آقا.
So, you know what they eat in Cambodia? Rice.
What's wrong with rice?
Would you give up rice and bread?
Never.
Yeah,
I'd rather
okay.
die.
No, I'm not
That's death to
married
me.
to it.
It's like if I'm giving up carbs, like rice, bread, all the best things in life.
Wait a minute. He said rice and bread.
I mean, what other
potatoes? I can't give up fries.
But you can get. I don't think Dr. Rosa thinks that we should eat fries. The way she reacted to me saying fast food, I think.
I mean, nobody can
I know,
have
but like-
nobody can have a perfect life, perfect lifestyle, perfect diet. So everything in moderation. I mean, I
Yes.
enjoy these things too much to give them. I don't care if it's going to
But it
extend my
makes your
life for
life
10
better.
years. If I'm miserable,
relationship.
if I can live 10 years longer but be miserable, I'd rather
Really?
eat the bread and die sooner.
Well, you
That's
may
me.
die sooner.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's
I enjoyed my
You
life
say that
eating
now.
all the noon and paneer and pasta.
What if
and
the
great
last
things.
10 years that you're supposed to live is going to be incredible?
That's highly unlikely.
These are the I mean, it
I
does
know,
it
it's
does
a
in
real
the end
thing,
come to an
bro.
existential. It's like one of these questions,
For
right?
real, yeah.
Why life is short?
Yeah.
Do we enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the same argument people make for
I know.
smoking cigarettes or whatever. It's like,
Exactly.
I don't care. I'll lose the 5-10 years off the end of my life. But I suspect when you get into your 70s or
that's-
80s, you
you're
won't be
literally-
so happy with that
Okay,
decision.
cigarettes are poisoning your body. With bread, you're not.
People say that about sugar.
Okay, sugar fine, but bread, I would not.
Well,
That's
but what
that's
if what
a-
if it's,
It's
what
not-
if in a couple of years they'd say, oh yeah, it's same thing in bread. Don't eat bread. Like we've had sugar for
one of the
ages. We didn't know it was bad.
Bread's one of the most ancient food. It's literally one of the first foods that were created by
True,
humans.
but
so-
one of the first
and
things
they've
that was
been eating it
created-
for how long? I don't think
one
it's
of
a
the first,
problem.
one of
So
the
is
first,
homicide.
Yeah,
We don't
so does sacrificing virgins. That was one of the
No,
primary
what does that have to
rituals
do with
of
anything?
humanity. Like they don't practice that
humans,
anymore.
My point is, humans have been ingesting bread for since time immemorial. So,
Right.
I think you should
and we've been fine.
and they used to die at the age of 35.
That's fine. They lived a
with
good
bad
life.
teeth.
That's true. Life
Yeah,
expectancy.
but there is something like you want to live healthy and like you cut off the rice and then you are on Instagram 10 hours a day, so
Yeah.
it is unhealthy as
Yes.
well as like
Yeah.
eating
And,
rice,
and I
so
think that's the part of what Dr. Moradi, that's the part that appeals to me. They're talking about lifestyle. Like Ayurveda as a whole, it's a lifestyle
Yeah.
practice too. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
That is appealing to me.
And it also is appealing to me. Like I like the fact that she's saying whatever is ailing you, there's no blanket. There's no the idea that everyone is going to be prescribed the same pill. It doesn't make any sense. Like we all know that we react differently to what we eat, what we drink, the way we live our lives, how we exercise. Like we're all different humans. We're different, So it only makes sense that her idea of like, let me sit with you and find out everything about your lifestyle, and then be able to kind of
I agree with
get
I
a
like
sense
that.
of how I can treat you.
That makes sense to me. That
Yeah.
complete makes sense to me. And the fact that she's talking about prevention as opposed to treatment
Yeah.
more so. Yeah, she's like basically the idea as opposed to of a hospital, you go to a maintenance place where, you know what I mean, like where you enhance your lifestyle and prevent, like kind of like a maintenance of a car. Like, why would we have to only go there when we get sick? So that part of it I like too.
Listen, if you follow Dr. Rosa Moradi on Instagram, a lot of it is general sort of, there's wise kind of rules about it. You'll basically feel horrible about yourself for eating as much McDonald's as you do, Reza.
And it's common sense, a lot of it, which I hate.
You are listening to Roqe, and you can find all of our episodes, our guests, our Roqe Funnies, videos, etc. at roqemedia.com, where you can also support us and become a patron, roqemedia.com. Thank you, Fabulous Keon, Captain Reza, and Groovy Shia. Let's get to our next guest. I'm excited about this. We've waited too long. Let's bring her into the studio. What is traditional Persian dance? Where can we find it? And why don't we all know it more intimately? Well, our second featured guest today, joining me in the studio, is truly a special name when it comes to Persian dance. Helia Bandeh is a visionary dancer, choreographer, performing artist, and researcher who's used her experience and profound knowledge of Persian dance, its music, and its history to become a driving force in the development and presentation of Persian or Iranian classical dance, both inside and outside of Iran. Helia has taken her passion for dance to new heights and developed a one-of-a-kind method of Persian classical dance, which has led to collaboration with world-class artists in varying productions globally. She's also been at the forefront of empowering women both inside and outside of Iran to express themselves using dance, and has been a catalyst in establishing the newfound interest of women in Iran for this historic form of art. To discuss her journey, the beautiful tradition of Persian dance, and the plight of dance in Iran since the Islamic Revolution, I'm joined by Helia Bandeh in the Roqe studio today. Hello.
Hi.
What a pleasure it is to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
خسته نباشید.
سپاسگزارم.
I mean, I know you're on something of a Canadian tour doing performances. How is it going?
Actually, really great. This is my first time coming back after the whole COVID thing to Canada. And I was just in Montreal in the Persian or Iranian art festival, Jasn Honar Irani. And it was really great because we had one evening of the dance, which was the performance and the Q&A. It was fully booked, and so I enjoyed.
Do people who come to see you traditionally know what traditional Persian dance is? Are they coming because they're fans of it, or are they coming on something of a discovery mission?
Both. I think both. Many people, I think most of the people doesn't know about what they should expect. And some people, they know me, that's why they are coming. So it's really mixed audience. Yes.
What do you think they're most surprised by when they see you perform?
That this is really an art and it's not just for entertainment.
What does that mean?
Because there's a difference between art and entertainment. It's a very, very much different. In Iranian culture, I think we saw always dance as an reason for entertaining. So in the weddings, in the parties, you know, when we're gathering together, we dance. And that's a very normal thing. But seeing a dance as an art form and bring it on stage, that's something, our own dance, you know, as an art form and bring it on stage is something that we are not used to. So the people are not very familiar with this concept.
If it is, surely it can be art and entertaining at the same time, right?
It could be, yeah. But sometimes
it's
art
not.
sometimes is art, and it means it's just like when we are talking about art, is not because I want to entertain you. Art is something that you need, first of all, lots of creativity, and second of all is you want to say something, so there is a more deeper understanding of what is happening, performing. And when it's entertainment, it could be, you know, for example, if you ask me, would you like to dance this for me, then it would be, in my opinion, a performance as entertainment. But when I am creating the thing that I want to create, the things that I want to say, and that I don't think about my audience, what they want to see or not see, but it's just something that I want to share with the creation that I have in mind, with the reason that I have in mind, then I believe then it will become an art form.
But here's what I don't like about dividing art and entertaining. it suggests, I worry that it then creates the conditions where people think art or high art is somehow inaccessible. It's not good for them, or it's something that you do because it's good for you. It's like you're supposed to eat spinach and you're supposed to appreciate art. Whereas I have this philosophy where I think all kinds of art, every kind of art, including Persian traditional dance, is accessible, is there for everybody. It's more the way you package and present it, right? It's like if you bring someone along and explain it and say, this is the story this is telling, this is what we're doing, anybody can enjoy it, right?
That's true. It's not about only enjoying. I think that it's what you need at that moment. Sometimes you want to just make your head completely free of everything that is going on in your head, and you need those kind of entertainment form of art. And sometimes you need something to actually make you think deeper and going, searching for the things or saying things that maybe, or thinking about things that you are normally not thinking of. So it's what you need at that moment. It's not that one is higher or one we need more than the other. I believe we need every kind of art form as entertainment or as not just entertainment. We need that to having a pop music, but we need to having classical music, or we need to sometimes read a book that is very literally, more complicated, or sometimes a book that is much easier because we just want to, bring our head just not thinking about things.
Let me come back to this because it's too interesting. I don't want to go too far in the rabbit hole on this because,
yes.
But I can tell this is going to be a fun interview because I'm already okay. I want to come back on. This question of high art. I just don't want to. I don't want somebody to folks who say, for example, I don't want to go see a foreign film. It's too much work. I just want to see a Hollywood blockbuster. That's fine. You can, but you don't want that to be such a pattern that people are denying themselves coming to see Persian traditional dance because they think, oh, that's work. It's something that's good for me, but I really just want to have a fun Friday night.
Okay, we cannot. The point is, this is what you are saying is true at somehow, but from the other side, we don't want to put it too much also in this whole, how do we say it, in these special windows, this is this and this is that. But the other side, we cannot,
please everybody,
avoid it because sometimes things are a bit deeper than the other things. Sometimes you need to you need it. It's just what your head needed.
Part of what you're saying is
I mean,
you don't want to create dance only with the idea. You don't want to sort of exploit the dance or use the dance only for the entertainment of the audience.
That's the point. Yeah,
yes,
that's
I
the
get
point.
it,
Because if you think only as an entertainment as for the audience, then what you are creating automatically will be somehow more lighter. In your creation, the same thing as when you are writing a book, literature, very high literature, or you're writing just this package,
Gotcha.
simple
Yeah.
books that is really like a fun thing to read.
Yeah.
So it is you have different needs and in society, and all of those it should be there because there are different people with different needs in this earth.
I hear you. First of all, I want to make sure in this time that in this conversation, we talk about your journey, which has been quite a remarkable one, including for some time being arrested in Iran, and we'll get to some of that. I do want to talk about the implications of the revolution and how we almost have to see the culture of dance as a before and after in terms of what that did. But let me start, as we have, with trying to define what we're talking about, because you've actually made the point, and you made it again just now a few moments ago, that as Iranians, we don't even necessarily know what traditional Persian dance is. It's not Baba Karam at a party, right? Or it's not. So how do you describe if you can do so in words, how do you describe traditional Persian dance?
Yes, I will try to do it as, as short as possible. Actually, the best word for this is Iranian classical dance, what I am doing. And because when we use word Persian, we refer to certain, ethnical group. And this is not a dance that is referred to that. When we are talking about Iran, we are actually referring to that country. So a dance that is that exists in that country, which is actually a republic of different nations that live there.
Regionally very different.
Exactly. So when in Iran, we have different people, different ethnical groups, different nations that live there, like a Kurdish people, Lori people, and Turkmen, and all these people, they are living there. Also, Fars people, they are one of those ethnical peoples that living among them. And then is like inside of this Iranian dance, we have different junctions, which you can say like sections. You can say the folkloric dances and the ethnical group dances that is from certain folk, for example, Kurdish dance.
Right.
And then you have this ritual.
But is Kurdish dance considered traditional Iranian dance?
Is not traditional. You can say Iranian dance because Kurdish dance is a part of Iran.
What are you talking about when you're teaching Iranian traditional dance? What does it look like?
Yeah, these are different sections inside of that. And you have, for example, dances that they are ritual dances. The ritual dances, they could be from a folkloric dance, but it could be also not connected with certain folk, but certain ritual, certain belief. For example, Sama is one of the ritual dances that we have.
Or the whirling dervish.
Whirling dervish is not from certain folk, but is certain belief. So ritual dances is always connected with that belief that we have. For example, we want to have the rain will come. We pray for the rain will come, and there is certain ceremony around it, or getting the czar, for example, out of our body, which is like a kind of devil or I don't know, whatever is inside of your body. You want to get it off. So it's from certain belief, let's say. And then you have, of course, the dances, the pop dances, which is like the popular dances. And the popular dances are something that is happening inside of the cities and or everywhere in Iran, and is not connected with certain folk or certain ethnical group, but is something that is connected with what is happening at that moment in that area, and is influenced by everything that you see.
Sure.
Right.
Music videos,
and it's in different time eras is different things.
Sure.
Whatever you have around it. And when it comes to this kind of Iranian classical dance that we are talking about, that some people will call it traditional, some people will call it miniature dance. There are different naming for this. I will name it Iranian classical dance. This dance is actually a dance that was in the past done in the court, and for the entertaining in the court, outside of the court, in between the elite people, or in the parties or on streets. And this developed itself in different ways, and at a certain point, actually, let's say 100 years ago, when we went to the constitutional government after Qajar
20th
period,
century basically.
Exactly. Then this dance that it was done in the court, the elite dancers, let's say, is kind of disappeared because they didn't have a stage to go to.
Sorry, 2 steps back. How far back does this?
We say like 100.
No, how far does it go back? The classical dance.
Oh yeah,
thousands of. I mean, when does it begin?
As long as we have the court, as long as we have it, we had a kingdom, we had those dances. But the point is because it was for entertainment. This dance was for entertainment. So we had always entertainment, because there is no king that doesn't want to be entertained when their guest is coming, or when you have a wedding and you want to, inviting people. But this is
I prefer dancing just for art, not entertaining.
But unfortunately, in our history, it was not like that. Yeah. So now we live in another time,
Yes.
So we will come back to that part. Yeah.
yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But the point is that this dance was done in the main cities. Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, in Shiraz, in Isfahan, in Kerman, in Mashhad, in Tabriz, and it was not from for one nation, as I said.
So they were all doing Iranian classical dance?
Yeah, that's the point. Why Iranian? Because Iran, when we are talking about Iran, is not one nation. It's the nations that was and lived in Iran. They attacked Iran. They immigrated to Iran. They had this trading with Iran. So these dancers, during all this time, they were not only Iranian Fars people from Shiraz, let's say. They were people that they lived in Iran for any reason.
Why does it disappear in the 20th century?
Because we had this in the court. Yeah, what we had in the court, these dancers, they came out of the court because we didn't have harems anymore. We didn't have that constitution as we had. So they didn't have a stage to go to. For example, our music, Daska music, they starting to organizing performances outside, and also we had the radio that they can go went to and perform there. But for dancers, there was none. So, and these dancers mostly, actually all of them, they were this kind of dance, this kind of collection of movements, they were done by women or boys dressed up as women.
Oh, yes.
So once this constitution changed, there was no stage for them to go to. But there were these dances that they were still dancers and group, mutrebs, that they were dancing and performing on streets or in the houses of the people. They were keep on doing this, but they then they went to the cabarets. So then changing the way of doing it. And I have to say, during the history, these dancers that they were performing, they were not always they were only a dancer. They could be a dancer, a play, someone, an actor, or acrobat, or musicians even, and also could be a prostitute. So all of them.
I was just going to sidebar here to say, this history that you're giving us. There's a story that you've told that I don't know if it was when you had already moved to Holland or not. But at some point, you're starting to learn dance, but you're not learning Iranian. You're learning Egyptian dance. You're learning different dance styles. And somebody says to you, "I would really like to see you do some Iranian classical dancing," and you realize you don't even know what Iranian. And this is how the journey began for you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this is how the journey began for me. So when I was doing this, they asked me that, and then because I immigrated from Iran at a younger age. And I was not a traditional person in the way to listening to traditional music or dancing or whatever. I was really like, I didn't.
You went to the Netherlands and you did a degree in fashion design.
Yes, I did it. But the reason that I did the degree in fashion, we are going to from a story to another story. Let's go more back in the history. I wanted to be a dancer from a moment that I remember. I remember I was about 4 years old and I was sitting in front of the, TV.
In Shiraz?
In Shiraz, yes. And a ballet came on the TV, and I was so mesmerized by this ballet. And then I was like, ran to my mom and I said like, "Mom, I want to be a dancer." And she was like, yeah, sure, okay. And at that moment, of course, it was still the Shah period, so I wasn't, the possibility was
the Shiraz Arts Festival.
Yeah, exactly. It was the Shiraz Art Festival. A while after, when I was in the first class, they brought us to this performance of Shahr Qisse. And so I saw all these dancers in the storytelling, combining together. So kind of dance theater. It was a kind of dance theater. And I was so mesmerized by this. So this was for me very clear, I want to become a dancer. But unfortunately, of course, the revolution came and everything changed in Iran. So it was not possible at all to doing something with a dance. So after I immigrated to Holland, the first thing that I said to the immigration because I was underage when I went there, and my parents were not with me, I was alone. So I asked them, I want to go and study dance. They said like, I'm sorry, you are too old. This is not possible for you, because at that time I was 17. So
Who said this?
These people that were there.
What people?
I don't know. I have to.
Who says you're too old?
Would you like to exactly know the name?
I want to know them.
Yeah, me too. Actually.
I see. They're saying, okay, you're already
they
in your
were like-
teens. You didn't
Yeah.
start when you were 5. I see. Right.
Exactly, because I was in a small. I went to a small village, so I was located in this small village, and because I was underage, there were people that they would kind of parenting you.
I see.
in
Yes.
a legal position, let's
Yes.
say. And so they had to arrange everything with the school
Yes.
and everything that I have to do there. So they said to me, like, this is not
Honey,
possible.
dance is not really. It's
no,
past. You're past your time.
You're too
Yeah,
old.
yeah,
This
yeah.
should be a start from 5 or 4
Right.
or whatever. So because I didn't have the power by myself, it was not that I could make I choose because
Mm-hmm.
I was younger. So you have to go to study and forget this. So I kind of not forget it, but I started to having just, the weekly classes, jazz, ballet, and those kind of flamenco. And then at a certain point I started, okay, I have to do something else. There should be art, because I don't see myself become a, doctor or whatever, because that's not for me. I never wanted to. And so I went to art school and art college, and I studied for fashion designing, and at a certain point I changed it to multimedia and design. And then I started to work as a multimedia designer. And however, the study was to creating digital art, but okay, I went to a company and starting to, doing programming and designing. And after 2 years, by accident, I actually saw a poster of flamenco dance, that there was somewhere that they were teaching flamenco dance.
Sorry, can I just point out though?
Yeah.
I mean, as a young woman aspiring to dance, the situation that you were in compared to somebody who would be in Toronto or San Diego or Brisbane, you are. It's still the 1980s when you leave to Iran, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's so dance is not even an option in Iran at
No.
that point. Nothing, zero.
No,
right?
zero. Definitely, if you not lived in certain point in Tehran, maybe some people could have, underground classes. But at the time that I lived in Iran and I was in Shiraz, no way.
And which we can get to. I mean, it's a sort of devastating situation in itself. But then you go to a new country where you're kind of being told, this isn't really going to work. I mean, it must have been quite an isolating circumstance for a young person who knows what her passion is but can't pursue it.
Oh, definitely. I really see my dance journey as a fight. I don't see it as something that, you like to dance, so let's go and dance. And I don't see it as a fight, just a simple fight. It's a fight. I saw it always as a fight against everything around me, because I didn't live in Iran to having the tradition and the access to everything that I wanted to know. I lived in a small city somewhere north in Holland, completely disconnected with the Iranian tradition. I didn't have, Iranian people around me or whatever. And also the culture of dancing in Iran is already something that you have to fight against. Is how do you want to say to your parents? How do you want to say to other people?
Yes.
You chose for the dance.
Yeah.
Then you have the government that can you as a dancer go back to Iran or not, which I love to go back to Iran, and I always loved to go back to Iran. And then the fight against a whole history of not knowing what actually the history of is,
Right,
because it's the
right.
challenge itself to find all this information.
So I don't want to fast track your story, but was there because I know you've got your story, but was there a turning point? Was there a moment when you're in Holland and you go, excuse me, but like, fuck this, I'm gonna
Oh, yeah, that's-
I'm gonna do dance no matter what
Yeah.
anybody tells me, and I'm gonna go discover traditional Iranian. So what was that moment?
The turning point was that poster that I saw of flamenco. That was that was because I was at that time actually already 30 years old, and I wasn't young anymore. I had I am a mother. I had my 3 children, so it was like, and I was a single mom also. So
Wow.
everything, and I didn't have family, anything. There was. The situation was not perfect at all. The situation was actually really difficult, let's say. But then I had the choice at that moment. There was no mother, no father, no government, nobody that was making a decision for me. I was making the decision
But
for
it's
myself.
a courageous decision.
Yeah, it was.
Well, to say, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, and when I saw this and I thought like, okay, I want to do this. So I, calculated everything in my mind and I said like, okay, it is now or never. So at that point, of course, I chose for that. And I put the working in the, in the company at the side as a, let's say a good job with a good prospect and good, everything.
In other words, you, even at that point, you weren't just thinking of this as some hobby you do on Thursday nights.
Never.
You envisioned this moment in
Definitely.
Toronto as a world-class, as somebody who's known around the world as a dancer, doing an interview. You envisioned all of this.
I envisioned all of this from the moment that I can remember in my life. So it was always there. Wow. This is not something that happened. It is something that is in you, and it's the mission of my life. That's the point. The dance is the love of my life. And I will do everything, you will do everything for your beloved. That's how I see it. And that's why I choose this, because I knew I found my love. And then I started from there. And where this path will bring me, I don't know. But I knew the 100% of my life would be focused on this love. Even I was a mom, so it is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have to choose staying with your children home and having your all focus for your children, or going for a career that you don't know where it will brings you. So this, I really believe in my story that I had to sacrifice a lot of things to be able to do this.
If you're in a small town in Holland in the, say the 90s at this point or whatever, there is no more Iranian classical dance performances are certainly happening in Iran at that point yet. And there isn't an internet yet, so you can't go search and watch YouTube videos of people doing Iranian classical dance, which we now can because of you. How do you even learn what the moves are? How do you even learn the dance itself? It's a long journey. It doesn't happen from one day to another day. You are searching for it, you hear it, because I was already started with the Egyptian classical dance as a, professional doing that. And so during this whole thing, people starting to ask me about what is Persian classical dance. And then I realized, actually, I don't know. Do we have such a thing? Because I remember the Qashqai people dancing. I remember the dances from Bushehr and the Bandeh, the south of Iran. But then I realized I don't know what is it actually, and all these questions that I had. For example, when I look at the Egyptian classical dance or flamenco or all of those, they had the answers. They knew where their dance, what was the dance, from which time, what is the history, what is the music, all of those things. It was there, but from Persian, I didn't know. So I started to search, of course, and find some DVDs. And then from one of the ladies in USA, she's an American lady, Robin Friend, and she's a fabulous person. And she had a DVD of a performance. And I found other dancers, Shahrzad Khorsandi and Banafshe Sayyad, and starting to have some classes, whatever I could, because all of them, they lived in USA, and none of them, they were in Europe. And of course, it was not so easy to do all those things. And they were classical dancers before the revolution? Is that?
No, they were not all classical dancers. They are dancers in this.
How did they learn it? I mean, how did I'm just curious how, when an art form sort of disappears, how do you revive it? How do you find it?
Because it didn't completely disappear. It wasn't in the focus, because after we have to go back again to the history.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of these dances, they came to the cabaret. Okay. It stayed there. We know that. And then went to the film Farsi, so the Persian films, and so we didn't take them seriously. It was like entertainment. It's like not something that, it's not as an art form. No. And then the ballet came in Iran. And then in the past 10 years of the Pahlavi dynasty, Farah, the queen of Iran, she started the whole Honaristan.
Supporting the arts.
Yeah,
and funding,
supporting the art. and building this or creating these schools for art schools. And then they starting to having also the section of the dance. So they starting to this group of رقص ملی و محلی Iran, so folklorish and the dance of Iran, let's say. And then they starting to bringing, having these girls and boys there that were educating a bit in ballet and also in the dances that they were performed in Iran, like folklorish dances. And they invited a person, a choreographer from America. His name is Robert De Warren, to Iran, and he got all the equipments that he needed and all the support from Farah to go to all the different villages in Iran and doing this research and bringing all those dancers to Tehran and choreograph them and also perform them on stage. And so we have a few beautiful performances videoed
from that era,
which they are very much influenced also by the idea of that choreographer, of course. And the music
you have to sort of weed through that.
And also the ballet is playing a very, very important role in that time. So it's not like if you're going back to the history, you don't find anything and nobody knows anything and I am the only one. No, there are people that they are working around the globe and also in Iran and doing these things, and some did the research, some just copied, some were more successful in their the ending of their journey, and some maybe less. It is not that I am the only one.
When we describe Iranian classical dance, I mean, I asked you to put it into words, and you've given us an amazing history. But in terms of actually, people are not watching you dance right now. They're watching an interview. So how would you actually describe what is happening, the nature of the movement? How do we characterize Iranian classical dance in terms of what you're doing with your body?
So as I said first, this dance were done by women or boys dressed up as women. So has a very feminine energy and feminine quality.
Men don't do it.
Men not as men. Not with the energy of men. So it's not a masculine, movements. And so it's very much, the movements are based on arm movements and footsteps and turning. That's what it is. But they are very soft, with their soft transitions, with the, curved line. They are not as they are in the ballet. So I will say they are very grounded, but at the same time very extended. So that's the movement
Can I ask
itself.
you a question that might sound like a stupid question or a naive one? But I can't think of a better person to ask. And what is with the arm movements, the hands and the arms? We do that in I mean, even when we're dancing at parties, the Persian dance, there's a lot of arm and hand movement. But certainly when I'm watching Iranian classical dance, there's much more focus in terms of what you're doing with your arms than, say, in a tango or in a certain kinds of dance that seems to focus a lot more on using the legs or steps. Yeah. So where did that begin? Why are you so expressive with the arms?
The point is you cannot say why it's happened, why we starting to move our arms, but moving arms is a very natural thing. When you want to walk even, you use your arms to keep your balance, to express things. So when you want to express something, you don't express it with your legs, you express it with the arms, gestures are with the arms. And this is something that you will see it in all the Asian movements. So if you look at Indian dances, or you look at the Indonesian dances or dances from that part, or even Japanese dancers, Chinese dancers, Uyghur dancers, whatever, all of those, they have this quality of using the arm movements. So when you go back to this style of dance, you can absolutely not say where the exact movements are coming from.
But when you talk about it being flowing, another observation I would make, I mean, this is just based on what I've seen of Iranian classical dance, but it's not about speed. It's usually the dance does not seem to be about. It's not how many times can I do like a rockette. How many times can I do a can in a minute or something? You know, it's not like it's not the whirling dervish. It's not the Russian Cossack going as fast as he can around the. It's very elegant, gradual movements.
Yeah, I think it's because of the transitions of the movements. You want to create, in my opinion, in this dance, you want to create the feeling that you have also in our culture, in our art. You know, when you come back to character of our art, in Iranian art, you will find certain things, certain similarity. Let's say we will use curved lines when we are using the, our miniatures. Or in classical paintings, when we are saying in our literature, when we are saying certain poems, there is this lines of ra-da-da-di-di-di-da-da-da-di-di. You see, this has
a consistency across the arts.
Yeah, when you are looking in the rhythm, that most famous rhythm that we use in our music is a 6/8 rhythm. Even if it was ever 7, they think it was a 7, but it's like closer to the 6, the 7 that is more closer. So it has a round feeling of movement. So when you have this round feeling, which could be has to do with our philosophy, like what is Abu Sina saying, or Khayyam is saying, that everything comes back, and you are in this circulant idea of existence, then you will, maybe because of that we chose for this roundness, or maybe it's more simpler thing that is very close to our body, in our mind, because we don't have anything in the nature that is a straight line. Everything is round. Nothing in the nature, in the geographical nature that exists that is completely straight. Everything has a bit of broken line. So the point is, maybe it's more closer to our body, that we use things that is closer for us.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting that you draw that parallel across the arts. Let me ask you about the confusion that we have around that I have around what is and isn't allowed in Iran now, or in the last 20 years, say, because obviously immediately after the revolution there was no dance. In the 1990s, things start to open up a little bit. There's the Khatami, post-Khatami era, where mixed audiences are allowed. I think some forms of traditional dance are allowed. For women can dance for other women, that type of thing. Where are we at now? I'm going to ask you about your story in the last 10 years and going back and forth to Iran and some of what you've had to endure. But it's very confusing for me. I can never figure out whether it's music or literature or films. I can never figure out this current government's rules and regulations because they're all over the place. So I know you can't hip hop dance in Iran.
You can also hip hop dance in Iran. I mean,
you can?
That's the point. It's a very gray line. It's not black and white. Most of the things in Iran, and I think most of the Iranian way of thinking is very black and white, and is not. They don't realize the grayness of the things. But however, we live in a gray area in Iran. We don't. If you come to Iran, you think that okay, the scarf, you should wear a scarf everywhere. You are not allowed to drink. You are not allowed to dance. You are not allowed to have a boyfriend or whatever. But all of those things happening in Iran still. So it is a gray thing. It is not like no or yes, of course.
But there's still young dancers being arrested.
That's the whole gray part of it, you see. So
not so gray if you're in jail.
That's from the other side. That's the crazy about it. Why, if it's someone would be arrested, somebody else could be performed. That's the point, because you have performances in Iran.
You've done performances.
I didn't done performances.
Well, you did workshops.
I did workshops in Iran. Okay. And the point is, in Iran, in the past 10 years, let's talk about past 10 years, because in the beginning of this Islamic government, Republic of Iran, it was absolutely not possible, which is not strange because we had the war with Iraq. So people concern was not art at all. nobody's concern was art. After that, we economically we starting to have more freedom of living our life in a normal way. I believe all the other art forms are starting to being more performed. And also the dance. So the dance was there on the ground for very little community that had the access to.
Okay.
But in the past 10 years, it's starting to become more and more and more. So there are people like, for example, a lady, Farzaneh Kabuli, Khanim Farzaneh Kabuli. This lady, she was all those years there. But in the past 10 years, she did perform in the biggest hall of Iran, which is Talar Wahdat. Not even past 20 years. She did perform there. She had a mixed audience, which is men and women, for her performance, but also performance for only women. If you want to perform there, you need to have a permission from the government. And also they will, not only the permission, but also they will come and check in the visual way. You have to do a rehearsal, they have to look at it, and then they will say if it's allowed or not.
Right.
So if you give this permission, if you take this permission and you are able to perform, then you're gonna go and perform it. So if this is the women performance will be only for women, and sometimes the women performance will be even for also men and women, mixed public. And they, first of all, they don't use the word dance, raqs. They use a word that is actually the translating of it, like controlled movement or theatrical movement or physical theatrical movements, those kind of words, and they use it in the concept of the theater. So in a play, and the concept starting to change, so then it will be accepted. So that's why it's a gray area. And to having this permission is not only because you have the quality you're getting this, there is many aspect. One of these aspect is you have to actually be very persistent into having it. Second thing is, who do you know and who knows you? Who do you have in the government to have the connection?
I mean, look, even all of what you've just explained, which I appreciate, that all of these nuances, and you're not saying this, let me say it. I just think this is crazy.
It is
I find
crazy.
all of this is crazy.
It is crazy.
We're talking about people expressing themselves through movement.
Definitely.
I mean, what is who
that's
are we
the
protecting
point.
here?
That's
right?
the point. That's the point. That's why I'm saying that if you say it's not happening, then you are talking about something that doesn't exist at all. But when you are saying that it is happening, but has this situation, then you understand how difficult it is.
Do you think the internet and social media has changed things?
Oh, definitely.
So the girl in Esfahan can watch a Beyonce video or watch you dancing or what?
Yes, that internet having the access to the outside world, it also even inside of Iran. So you see another girl in Iran is dancing and putting her video on the Instagram. You think you get inspired. Okay, then I'm going to do it too, and the other one also doing it too. So the point is, officially it's not allowed, but from the other side officially is allowed, otherwise they will not perform. That's the whole crazy thing. There is like, when I am living in Holland, I know if I pass the red light I will get fined. Doesn't matter who is passing it, you will get fined. But that's the problem in Iran. If you are performing, one will get fined, the other one not. I did a workshop, I was arrested. The other one is my students, they were in the same workshop, but at the same time they performed. They didn't get arrested, they could perform.
Hang on a second.
That's the whole thing.
I want you to actually tell this story, because it's you make a decision in 2014 to start going back to Iran.
Yeah.
You do a few things. I mean, you're a performer yourself. You're an educator, I would say, a researcher, but you also do workshops. You teach.
Yeah.
And you decide to go back to Iran and do workshops to teach, right, in Tehran. First of all, tell me about that decision. That's a big decision, I would think.
That's the big decision, because I wanted to share what I know with Iranian women, because I am one of them. I didn't get the chance to do what I wanted to do in my life. So I don't see it as, I didn't saw it as something for me. I saw it, what I have is not for me, it's for everyone else. If I got this chance to do it, I want to share it with them, because this is my mission, to acknowledge those people, Iranian people, and also people out from outside of Iran, that this is an art form and we have to be able to do it in the very natural way, not in a way that I had to do it. So I thought like this, I felt this as a, you know, very heavy thing on my shoulder, that a history of suppression of something that you want to do, and this is dance, very natural thing, very normal thing, that I have it, and I want to give it to the people that also are the same as me. An Iranian girl, Iranian woman that is older or younger is nobody else than me. It's the same.
Okay, so you start doing that in 2014.
Yeah.
For 2 or 3 years, it's benign. Everything's good. You're doing these workshops. What happens in 2018? Why did you get arrested?
So the problem is, you see, when I started to going back, my idea was very naive, you can say it maybe, maybe I thought very childish. It was love of my life. I wanted to give this love to the others. There was no other thing behind it. There was no that I am going there because I want to become famous, I want to earn money, because I could earn money much more in outside of Iran than in Iran. And also there was no difficulties around it. You know, very easy to work here. But the point was different, you know, higher reason than my own, my selfish reason for myself. So, but this was something that was not accepted or understood by many people that they were around there. Because first of all, I was doing two things, changing a culture around these women that many didn't want to, you know. Second of all, for many people that they were living there.
Many didn't want to, meaning who?
The government.
The government, right. They didn't like that.
They didn't like that. Yeah. And then the second thing was the people that they were working already there, or people that they wanted to become, you know, raise higher in the dance scene. So they didn't like that somebody suddenly came there, you know, very childish way, like, hey, yeah, let's do this, happy, without thinking, you know, very happy, not having a certain, you know, how can I say it in English that it's just that you can understand?
Say it in Persian.
I want to find the right word, because this is a delicate matter. You know, there was no other reason that actually the love that I had. That's the point. And for example, the students,
it was very authentic. There was no agenda.
Yeah,
right.
No agenda, exactly. But you know, for example, teachers that didn't like that I came there, they thought like, oh, if Helia will come there and teaches our students, then she can steal our students, and she will bring an acknowledgement that maybe they didn't want to give them. So there were many reasons for this, that what's happened for me. It's not only the political reason of it.
Was there something specific you did, or was it just it built up over time and they?
It was what I would build up over time in those times that I went to Iran, and my workshops, they were starting to being bigger and bigger and coming more and more women from different part of Iran. You know, from Ahvaz to north of Iran, from Mashhad to I don't know east or west of Iran. So there was not only Iranian people they are coming to, and not only one age. These people, they went to these workshops not because they wanted to learn only Iranian classical dance, but they find a very small window to their dreams. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So for them was not only just having a class. For them was I found a way to connect myself to a dream that I am dreaming of. You see, so that's why maybe there was this energy inside of this workshop. So on 2018, they during my teaching my class, they attacked my class and they arrested me while I had the permission. I went for getting the permission to be able to teach in an institution that they were official institution. So actually there was no reason to arresting me because I wasn't doing anything.
What do they say to you when they arrest you? Do they give you a reason? Do they say?
They gave me, there is many reasons that we can make your life very difficult, and we're going to do it if you are not going to cooperate with us.
What did they want you? How did they want you to cooperate?
to cooperate, to give them all the questions that there was there, and there was nothing special because I'm not a political active person. I will never be. I am an artist, and I will be doing my art, and I never saw these two, combining together, because I am doing this because of the love that I have for the dance, not because I want to. This is not a political reason. So
Were you scared?
No, because I was so in love with what I'm doing that I thought if you put so much positive energy in your love, it's impossible it's gonna turn against you.
You were never scared?
I wasn't scared
Even
at that moment.
when they take you away, or they
No, not at that moment. But I wasn't scared. I was worried.
What were you worried about?
I was worried that I cannot dance. First of all, and I cannot come back to Iran. I cannot teach us to Iranian, because that was my passion. And second worriness for me was that I will not see my children anymore. That was, and my husband. That was
They're back in Netherlands at this
They were
point.
back in Netherlands, because I didn't know what's going to happen for me. That was the worstest part, because they didn't told me you have to go to the prison and stay there for 10 years or 5 years or 1 year. They just told me you have to wait. And I was like, waiting.
And you can't leave the country.
There was this restriction on me that I couldn't leave the country.
For how long?
For a year.
For a year?
Yeah.
So you didn't see your kids for a year?
No.
Oh my God.
And of course, I don't live in Iran. Yeah,
Right.
So if you don't live in Iran, you are gone for such a long time. It's a difficult thing to adjust yourself and staying at this or that, family and friends. It was a very difficult time for me. And also, I understood that I cannot trust anybody, because there was so many things were happening around me that it was an awful time, let's say it like this. But what I saw in those times was I think the worstest part was that I didn't know what's going to happen to me. If I knew what's going to happen to me, I could adjust my mind to it. But the point was, I didn't know what's going to happen.
Did they want you to say something like, you'll never dance again, or
No.
some kind of... No, it just was...
They were very respectful to me at the moment that they were talking to me, or they asking me some things, or, integrate.
Why do you think they don't want you to leave in Iran then?
I don't have any idea why they did this to me. I cannot say what is the reason.
You really don't?
Because I wasn't in their mind, you see. I
Right,
cannot say.
right,
But
right.
honestly, that's the point. But what kind of accusations I have? I had a lot of accusations. 4 different accusations. I'm not going to talk about that part.
Okay.
It's not important.
Okay.
The point is that this happened, and they had to do with my dancing. Then they had to do with what I was actively working in Iran. And the crazy part is that I was and never been and will never be a political active person, because that's not the thing that I know enough about it, because I believe if I want to do something in a politic, I have to know enough about it and being specialized inside it. I am a dancer, that's it. But in their opinion, changing culture is actually being politic.
Yeah,
That's
they worry
the point.
about that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. First of all, I mean, having been through that experience, it says a lot about you that you are undaunted. It hasn't stopped you dancing, hasn't stopped you teaching, hasn't stopped you interacting with folks in Iran. But with that as the backdrop, whether they were respectful or not, you sort of being detained in Iran for a year and having to go through all that. If a young woman from Tabriz reaches out to you, and I'm sure they do all the time, and says, I really want to get into this, do you think it's okay for me to do that? Do you warn them? Do you say, well, this could be problematic for you, this is what I went through? Or do you encourage them? How do you even feel about young women in Iran pursuing this?
Because young women in Iran, they want to dance, they will dance. I mean, they are used to these kind of things. Unfortunately in Iran, everything, all those bad things is such a normal for them. When you say that somebody is in prison, they say, they went in the prison for so long. For them is
Right.
such a normal thing.
Wow,
The very, very hard things for us, for them, is their usual thing. So also about this, the girl that is starting to do the dance, they know that they could be also they're getting these kind of problems, which I am not the only one that I've been arrested. I mean, there are other dancers. For example, Miss Farzaneh Kabuli that I said, she's been arrested, not now, many years ago, and been in the jail for, I don't know, a few months or something. So she's stopped with the they tried to stop her with the dancing, but she went on and on. Or there are more other dancers, so I am not the only one. But this is something that happened for me, and I can, of course, talk about my own personal experience.
Do you have a daughter amongst your kids, or are they all boys?
No, they're
all
boys.
If you, interesting. My question was going to be, if you had a daughter and you were in Iran and your daughter wanted to be a dancer, would you say go for it?
I will definitely. This is how I think now. I don't know, maybe if I was born in Iran and lived in Iran and all my life, maybe it was a different story, but I am living here. But I will always support them, whatever they want to do, who they want to be. It's not my
by living here, you mean Europe.
Yeah.
Here being outside of Iran.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was in Iran, I don't see myself change so much in the way I'm thinking, because I wasn't a traditional person even when I was in Iran, because if I was there, I definitely wanted to become a doctor, because I was very good at school. I was doing the section of the mathematics, so I was really good at school. It was not because I couldn't or I didn't have the mind. No, I didn't want to. I wanted to become a dancer, being an artist.
You said earlier, must have been about 45 minutes ago now, you said dancing for you is a fight. Your life as a dancer has been a fight. Does it still feel like a fight?
I don't want to fight anymore, because I feel I changed after all that's happened. I feel that I done things that I done whatever I wanted. You asked me if I was afraid at the moment that they, arrested me. And the only thing that was, went in my mind during that moment, that moment, was like, I done it. They cannot take it away from me. Why? Because I performed it. I teaches all the things that I wanted to teach. I educated so many people around the world, not only in Iran. It's not
no one can take that away from you.
No, it's not anymore. So I done actually what I wanted to do. I have much more to give still at that moment, I thought, but they cannot change this anymore. This stays forever in the history. Whatever wants to change it is impossible.
Do you wish you could perform in Iran?
That's my biggest wish, not only for women, but dancing and performing in Iran on stage where everyone can come and watch. That's what I want.
As a final question, I mean, we spoke before the interview, and you said you have a new mission, and Helia's new mission is enjoying life.
Yes, my when
how are you going to do that? Because you seem like you've got a pretty heavy schedule of performing and teaching, and I mean, what's the new enjoying life part?
The point is being more aware of your moments. Your seconds, your moments that you are living. So not living anymore in that rush and that stress of life because I had a very stressful life all the time by doing things, performing and traveling and doing this and wanting that. And of course, still I want many things. Like, I am trying to write a book, and I write already a novel of a roman, and which is not finished. It should be edited and finding a publisher. And the second thing is writing a book about Persian classical dance, which I am trying to write it, but I need more time and, of course, more support and a publisher. So those are the things that I want to do more than only performing and teaching. And and creating more space in my mind, not only in the physical life. And by that, I can, doing things, fighting more from your, not the outer words passion that I have, but from my inner peace that I have. That's a different way of fighting. So definitely I will fight, but it's in a different way.
Beautifully said. Are any of the boys dancers?
No. none of them, but they love that.
How do you feel? Are you relieved that they're not dancers?
No, I actually they went for a while to a ballet class, but because they were girls and they were like, this is in Holland. I'm talking about Holland, but it's still all the girls, they were like, he's a boy, he's doing a ballet, and so they stopped. At certain point, one day drumming and the other one was piano.
Out of ballet.
Kind of, but I think no, I am fine with whatever they're gonna do in their life.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for inviting me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Helia Bande, a visionary dancer, choreographer, performing artist, and researcher. Helia has been with me here in the Roqe studio today. And this is full time for Roqe for today. Our website, roqemedia.com, is where you can find all things related to this program and the programs that we have on our network, roqemedia.com, or OQE Media. Check that out for the guests who've been on this program, our previous episodes, our funnies, our videos. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together: Savvy Roham, talented Anahita, Ponta the artist, the fabulous Keon, Super Parisa, Smart Pega, Alay Merdad, Captain Roza, Groovy Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you have not done so already. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, like we like to say, ready, Shaya?
Yes.
Do it together.
Okay.
Mizuni Washi. Where were you?